Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to the HELLION ARTSHOW. What is it? 26? Wow, I've been doing this for 26 weeks. That's kind of weird. Holy shit. Yeah, welcome everybody. Today, we have a special guest because it's Nick, who's on the show all the time, but I figured we would talk about coloring today. And we've been planning this for a while, actually, but since we didn't have any other, like promoting any other project coming up, we're like, let's talk about colors. And I really wanted Nick to come on and show everybody his process. And I think people have expressed interest in talking about this and finding more about being a professional comic colorist. And so that's what we're going to talk about today.
Always glad to fill out holes in content.
I mean, thank you for that, but we have been talking about doing this, and I have been waiting to do this, so.
I might have zoned out.
I don't remember this either, frankly.
Well, I think it was literally in chat. I'm going to find, like, the messages and send it to you. But cool, anyways. Oh, Bancroft's here! Hi! Bancroft's also a colorist. Yeah, let's talk colors. Hell yeah. I think people have really been interested in this. A lot of people want to learn more about coloring, and I, for one, hate doing interior colors. So I have great admiration for people who can do it and do it quickly, because my problem is I'm just too damn slow. Blingo's Vengeful Ghost! Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Always glad to have you haunting us.
Yes. Chris Fisk. Hi. So many regulars. Hail, King of the Squibs. Yeah, we have so many people today. I am so glad to see. I'm not accusing you of anything. You are innocent. Oh no. No, you're saying it was you. Well, it's okay. I forgive you anyways. It's a very forgiving stream. Replicant. Hi. Dan Ringo. Skip Edwards. What?
What's a squib?
Squib? It's internet talk for squid.
Oh, I thought it was that Squid Games everyone is talking about.
No.
I thought it was like that little blood bag you have in movies that goes off.
Oh yeah, squibs.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, those big like blood packets.
Yeah.
Huh. Maybe. Maybe you're right.
I the same thing as Chimera, though. I thought it was going to be that Squid Game that people have been talking about recently.
I don't get why that thing is so popular. It's just like
I don't know what it is.
Korean Hunger Games. Okay. Well.
Which is weird because Hunger Games copied off Battle Royale, which is from Japan.
Yeah, it's the cycle of ripping off continues proudly. I have a mosquito bite like right here. Okay, anyways. Please ignore it. So, why are there two Nicks?
Oh, well, we have Ariel because she's the one that can actually handle the camera. But you said that you wanted me to show things. So since I have them on my computer, I thought I might as well do like the screen sharing or something. I've never done it.
Yeah, you're looking at us on my computer, but
you don't need another.
But I'm here. But you're also muted on the other one, guys. This is what we were dealing with before the show. You don't need another one because your camera and your mic are both off. I'm kicking this one.
Yeah, you just there. It's right next to Leaf Studio.
Yeah. You don't need that. I don't know why that's there. Okay. Anyways, so
so that one doesn't have any files.
If we get to it later, if you end up showing your stuff, I guess you'll pull it back up.
You're always fine.
You don't need a card to bring up stuff.
Guys, we're ruining the momentum. We should, Harry. Like,
it's okay. It's okay. Welcome to the Boomer Show.
Guys.
This really is accurately titled Hellion because I am in hell.
We are always in hell, and you make it more so, Chimera. Thank you for being here.
I am polite.
Oh, are you? Ray Rose, Squid Game is solid, apparently. Cool. I should probably check it out, and I probably won't because I don't have time, but I have heard it's good. All right, so yeah, let's get moving. Time of Dying. Hello, hi. Thank you for joining, everyone. So for anybody who isn't with us every week and anyone who is just joining in and that doesn't know you guys, why don't, especially you, Nick, what? What? What were
Everybody
you?
knows that regular.
Yes, thank you for interjecting and saying what I just said. Why don't you, Nick, tell everybody who you are, what you do?
Comic book artist, but have mostly been wrapped up in doing coloring. Most folks when we work on projects.
Well, you're really multi-talented. Sometimes, like
Oh
you.
gosh.
Yeah, it's true. It's like you're currently working on drawing a comic, and you're also coloring stuff as well. So
Yeah.
do everything.
Thanks, Annie. I really do feel like I have a publicist next to me.
So AC, why don't you tell everybody who your this client you represent? What does he do?
No, my client can speak for himself.
Hurry up!
Goodbye.
I feel like I'm missing an inside joke.
Never mind. Okay. So both AC and Nick worked on Shadow Roads, which is part of the Six Gun property, and that's what you guys got started on. And you've been working on that for a very long time. And right now, Nick, you were coloring and drawing Detonator, which is an indie comic, and you're still drawing that, right?
Yeah. I was actually working on it today. So yeah, doing some inking work on that, and but yeah, always having other coloring jobs on the side, and occasionally trying to sneak in and doing creature design for books whenever I get a chance to.
Yes, creature design is also his thing. Yeah. And of course, the colorist, interior colorist on my project, Fiendish. Check it out, Indiegogo. The link is in the description. So, how do you want to get started with this? How do you share your screen? Like, the floor is yours. How did you? Let's see. Let's just do this interview style. I had no plan, guys. I'm terrible at this. What kind of host am I? So you are from Columbia, but we met when we were both in art school in Georgia. So we went to art school and we all of us studied comics together. So AC, Nick, and I. And how did you end up doing comics professionally, and how did you end up doing mostly colors?
Well, you know what? The thing is just that when coming from Columbia, we never really considered that doing comics is actually something that you can live off of. So when we actually met in SCAD, I was actually going for illustration because I felt like that would be a bit more open to, like publishing gigs, and they always want covers or I don't know, posters or something like. And it was actually after hanging out there for a while, because some of the word is not courses. What do you call that? The majors. The majors kind of crossed a little bit, especially in the kind of drawing department. Not so much with the fashion people or the fine arts folks, because those guys are almost like separated into like different buildings, and it was kind of weird, kind of meeting folks like that, because I had never talked like to people like that before. So we started intermingling a little bit with the comics people, and I think we've mentioned him before. It was actually our professor, Chris Schweitzer, when meeting him, that I actually started kind of liking the idea of doing comics, because I already was doing that kind of stuff from being in DeviantArt and all that. I think when AC was also going to the same college, but like the other campus, because we have like one in Atlanta and one in, where's the other
Savannah.
place?
Savannah, yeah. AC and I were both in Savannah briefly, then we left because Savannah's a hellhole.
That's not why I transferred, but okay.
I apparently had to that was a very similar point to what I would bring up whenever I would visit, but AC was very, very adamant about the fact that it was great and very historic.
Because you never left the 5 blocks of downtown.
To me,
That's true,
to me, it was just like, that's historic? I don't know. I mean, that looks dilapidated and smells bad all the time.
You're correct.
But I mean, how does that expression go? Like, one man's trash is another one's treasure, or something like that.
That's sure. Glass half full, glass half full. Blingo's Vengeful goes, you did not miss the Pathfinder stream. It is this Sunday.
Yeah, no, like I was also confused. I kept thinking it was last weekend too, and we actually had the whole setup ready and whatnot. Had like
Yeah, we were ready to go.
Sorry, guys, but when we stream, I will tell you we are streaming.
You
and
said it was going to be 2 weeks from last time. But,
no, but then it changed to 3 weeks because people kept on having scheduling problems.
All
but
right.
you didn't tell us.
Anyway.
Anyways,
Anyway,
yeah.
this Sunday.
Yeah. So I started hanging out with AC, and she talked comics up quite a lot, and yeah, just the fact that there were so many people going to college for comics, which I could not believe was a thing.
not to mention you actually like did comics just for fun, like on DeviantArt and stuff.
Yeah, I did mention that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's just I never expected it to be something to buy. I don't know, to live on. Yeah. So yeah, she convinced me, and the folks from the major seemed to blend well. So went for that and thought that like, yeah, if I do need to do illustration, it's not like I can't just do something there.
Yeah. That's interesting. I actually didn't know that you originally started out doing illustration. I thought you're like AC, you're like comics right from the start.
I like them, but you know, I didn't grow up with comics as much. I had like 2 comics in English back when I didn't speak English. Aside from that, the only ones that show up around here is like Condorito, which is kind of like the equivalent of like Archie comics, but it's like a weird anthropomorphic condor guy that does like a bunch of dad jokes. And even, and even then, like those things is like it's one of the few national things that you'll see published around here, and it's still made in like that really cheap, like kind of cardboardy paper that you would see comics being made out of, like around like the 80s or 70s. And
what, like newsprint?
Yeah, newsprint. There you
go. Okay.
It didn't seem feasible, and so you know, like with every time, like I feel like most artists have heard this from your families, like have a plan B kind of a thing.
Oh yeah,
So
everyone. Yeah.
Even considering illustration was like I don't want to go into graphic design, so I'll make a concession and go for illustration.
I think every artist who isn't from like United States or Europe, like even from the US and Europe, but especially not from here, it's like it's have a plan B, and are you sure you don't want to do graphic design or product design? Because they're always like, you're going to starve. What, you want to draw comics? But this far from disowning you. So, but it's hard because there isn't a domestic industry in most parts of the world, and that's the problem. Yeah,
I mean I think that's also one of the things that made us take note so much of our friend Andres when we invited him over for like the Latin American talk. He was great. Yeah, like he has his day job and he works for like the government doing like graphic design and whatnot. So he's like constantly slaving away, and yet he knows that pays pennies around here. But he also did his own campaign, and he's pushing his book in this Latin American platform, which again, we're hoping that once he's got that funded and all issues ready, he will actually go for an international one and do that. Great. Yeah.
If you guys missed that, we had on this show, we had a special South American comic artist thing with featuring Andres, and that's in my HELLION ARTSHOW playlist on my channel, and you can find his comic through there and hear about him talk all about the industry in South America.
Yeah, we always just call him Andres Cruz Barrera. Everybody here has 2 or 3 names.
I will spell that name in the chat. Hey. So you went to college, got around to, well, you kind of like fell into doing colors, right? That wasn't what you were aiming for.
It wasn't, but you know what? It wasn't that even like falling into. Again, we talked about our professors, but one of our other professors, Nolan, he really sold me on colors.
What's his last name? Is Nolan?
Nolan Woodard.
Woodard.
You don't remember Nolan's last name?
She never had a class with him. She never had class. With
I took a year in Savannah, and then when I moved to Atlanta, where Nolan and all you guys were going to school, I had like a class, and I took mostly online classes, and then I dropped out. I couldn't.
Really?
Because you mainly got a job.
Yeah.
Comics anyway.
Weird. Yeah. Right. And the AC goes on. Listen, everybody, AC goes on about, oh, I wish I graduated. It's like, okay, so you took like a year and a half of college and you were working professionally in comics and you're mad you didn't graduate. Like,
I think because AC just wanted that piece of paper, you know, that says like, oh, I did it.
No, I just wanted
let's switch places.
I got through all of the prerequisites, took like a year, and I got through all of the prerequisites, and then my mom was like, yeah, so, you know, I can't really afford to pay for more loans. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'm not finishing school then. And so I managed to take like 3 comic classes, and like I sat in on a couple, and then that was it. I couldn't do it anymore.
You should have just sat in. Nobody cared.
You could have just sat with me.
I sat
in on so many classes.
I had to pay things, and I had to have a job, and I couldn't stay.
Well, you're doing fine, so I don't know. Like, listen, the first year of art school is like kind of useless. They'll make you take like drawing 1 and drawing 2 and then learn what the colors are. It's really dumb. It's a waste of money.
You know, like you see it as useless, especially when you already know where you're going. But
yeah,
remember, like so many kids are actually going in there. They just know that they like art, but they don't know what the hell they're gonna do. So it does work out. I had a few friends in there that actually like figure out where they were going during that time. It's a very expensive way of just stalling and thinking.
Yeah, tell me about it.
But I mean, if it wasn't because of the price, it wouldn't be too bad.
Oh, hey, Yvonne.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Yvonne's in the chat.
Hey, there you go.
Yay! If you want to come on, just hang out and let me know. You have the link. Well, you have the link, so yeah. Dragon Multimedia, hello. Well, that's very cool, and you both made it. We're all working as comic artists somehow. I don't know. I don't think I didn't start out thinking I would do comics either. I actually started doing animation. I don't think I mentioned that because I didn't realize when I first moved to America, I didn't realize that like American comics were still being published.
What, you just thought it was like all the old like Silver Age stuff?
But yeah, I mean, like in other countries, we just get reprints. Like you know what? I never thought that, but I can totally see someone thinking that because yeah, like the comics that we would get, you know, before the whole like Marvel DC comic boom, movie boom, where it was like, oh shit, we now gotta get all these new modern comics. We had shit that is like 10 years old, and then it's just coming out as reprints, and you're like, okay. I know that this is a reprint. They probably ran out of comics. I would understand that perspective.
Speaking of modern comics, can I pull up Gay Superman?
No.
Oh right, yeah. That has been on Facebook recently.
There's enough people talking about that. So whatever. They can do their gimmicks.
I just want to scare everybody with it. I don't want to talk about it. It's just
why do you scare? Why would that? Oh, there are other people talking about it. Anyways, yeah, like. The thing is, I grew up overseas, but not even like in the Americas, you would get old American comics. We didn't even get that in Taiwan. I got manga, and this was before the Marvel movies, and we barely had the biggest American movies would come to Taiwan like a month or two later, but this was back before things were so global. So. Like I didn't know American comics were a thing. I did read Calvin and Hobbes and Carmen Sandiego cartoons, and that's it.
Wait, Carmen Sandiego had a
Carmen Sandiego comics, yeah. There were.
I knew that there was like the game and then the game show. I didn't know they had comics for it.
It was a comic. So
did you ever read Peanuts, the comic strip?
I did, and I never really I didn't get it. Maybe just because I was a kid, but I got a bunch of because I went to American school, so the teachers would have like Calvin and Hobbes books, and they would try to give little comic strips to us, but that's all I got. But anyways, yeah.
So the one that we actually grew up with was I think every kid here in Colombia starts out reading Tintin and Asterisk and Obelisk. Those are great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even get a European. I wish I got more European comics. I would.
There's actually an animated series of Tintin. We had
Oh, is there? I mean, I remember seeing the 3D movie that came out.
No, this was in the 90s. They had an animated series, 2D.
Huh. Did they also follow the same style of line work where everything, no matter in what plane, always has the same flat line work everywhere?
I have no idea. I'll just share an image.
No. Oh, okay. Because a few months ago, we had been going over some anime videos that we were surprised that Irene was also following, and she was also watching this one that apparently was actually had an anime that emulated Mobius's style, even like with like the little dotted details on that. That was so cool.
Yeah, look at those little eyes and yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good adaptation. I really wish we got more European stuff over in Asia, but we didn't because I really like European comics. I was born on the wrong continent.
But did you like because I know that you mostly talk about like fantasy and sword and sorcery stuff where like we've talked about Black stuff a lot of times. That always comes up when we're talking about cool, like very detail oriented comics. But did you actually like those like more lighthearted like slice of life or like very calm mysteries like Tintin?
No.
Yeah, there you go. So I was like, I don't even think
I want
we have picked up Tintin either.
No, I'm not talking about. I have zero interest in Tintin. The European comics are either like Tintin or.
I seen that one, but I actually learned about that one in the U.S.
Thank you for interjecting.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's Red by Pat Mills. Oh shit! I showed my face.
That is pretty. Yeah, you should probably stop doing that.
Oh well, I'm doxxed.
Yeah, sorry. What were you saying?
No, I was just saying that European comics are either like crazy high fantasy or like slice of life stuff, and I have only interest in the former. I wish that was more popular all over the world.
What is that genre of manga where it's not like slice of life, but it's also not very plot driven? But the point of the manga is just to like set a mood and for it to be calming. Do you guys remember what that's called?
Nope.
Boring?
No, it was very interesting. I was recently listening to.
You mean like?
No, it doesn't sound interesting.
Part of this?
No. Mushishi is a monster of the day thing. Like, so there's action, there's mystery. It's plot driven regardless. But I was watching this video not too long ago talking about this weird genre, but I was like, I had never heard the name of it before. And it was about this anime about this kind of post-apocalyptic world where humans are dying out. But it's just that, technology is just kind of run its course, and like everybody just has kind of like really outdated stuff, like super busted radios and stuff. But it's clearly the future. It's just that most things don't work, because there's actually a bunch of androids that are like pretty much human just walking around, and the cities have been reclaimed by nature. So it's like, it kind of looks like those panning shots on the early episodes of Evangelion, where you just see that everything is uninhabited. It's kind of eerie, but it's very beautiful, and it sets mood. And the animation is very expensive. That you see like the shadows of trees just kind of waving. And they don't just make a single blob, like they animate like the recesses in between, the hair physics. And it's just about this weird post-apocalyptic world and this robot girl that handles a cafeteria, and how she just wants to go through life until her battery runs out, and just making the best out of the days that she has left. And it's just like mostly a bunch of old people that are still alive in there. But it's like the objective of the anime is just the mood, and it's just beautiful. It's a very pretty anime. You can't believe that they actually put a budget like that on something this calm.
Yeah, I feel like I can think of works like that. I don't know of a name. If anyone is Japanese in the chat, let me know. But it's like, yeah, it's Mamoru Oshii does that, and Makoto Shinkai also does that when he doesn't have a writer to give him an actual story to tell, like he was in Your Name. If he doesn't have an actual someone else helping him write stuff, he's like pretty things, and that's the whole fucking movie. I thought it was just kind of like a Japanese thing, and a lot of like anime have those moments, which is nice, but. Anyways, we're getting derailed. We're talking about comics and coloring.
This is just about chatting about art anyways.
Well, you know, I want you to be able to talk about what you do and everything. So that is really
comics.
That is really pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Have you actually checked out that comic I read?
No, I haven't.
Pretty good.
That's Requiem?
Yeah. I would oftentimes find that on the comic book stores over there in the US.
Yeah.
And it's actually one of the more flashy comic strips that I would actually put in on Heavy Metal magazine. I really liked it.
Moshi actually has a story.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like,
it has a conflict every episode. Moshi is really good.
It's not the same. Like, you think that sounds like super lax and like not very plot driven, but then you watch a show like this, and it's like there's really no plot. You just kind of like. The point of the anime is just to sit you there for a day and feel it. Not even like engage with a plot. It's really weird, but it's not bad. It's weirdly engaging. It's kind of like how people like ASMR channels and just like seashell things. It's a lot of money to put into just mood anime. It's weird, but I thought it was interesting. It's just different.
We had a couple of older comments I wanted to get to. Let's see.
Okay.
Danger Vanessa said earlier, so does this panel include the flatter who broke their hand working on Fiendish?
Oh, I should have invited her!
Did I? Oh yeah, that we talked to maybe ask her.
Yeah.
I did some flatting.
She's really hard to contact, though. Pretty much like you have to email her. She's nowhere else on the internet.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, like AC also had to do a lot of flatting.
I did do a bit of flatting.
Sometimes whenever she doesn't have any work, she kind of helps me to kind of keep up with some of this stuff.
I didn't break my hand on it, and it didn't work as much as your other flatters.
Yeah. A quick update is. Basically, what happened was Nick has been working with like 3 flatters or more, and like all except one person doesn't know what they're doing. So AC has to come in whenever she has free time and help clean things up. And also, my art is very detailed. And then the one flatter who actually knew how to do her job, like. She didn't break her hand, but she like her
wrist was hurting.
Her wrist was hurting after flatting that big shot of Alstad with like the whole city was on one page. Yeah.
I've been wanting to try and promote more like Latin American talent, even if it is just since I can't really make a project of my own just yet. I don't have the time or haven't really done something. I keep seeking local artists, even to just be flatters or just to hang out with, but. Since it's not a thing here, like people are, again, we all went illustration or graphic design. Everybody's used to just much as like when I was learning to understand everybody's pages, like doing the things that they understand and how it works for them, but not to work in a assembly line. And so when I try and like talk flats with a lot of people here, they just don't know, and there's just a bunch of errors. So it's been hard, and so I do tend to rely on our other friend that is really good at flatting, but I tend to just kind of like almost just grab her and chain her, like, please do as many of my flats as you can.
You'll have to bring her on sometime.
I will look into it, but I'm afraid she'll be way too nervous. She's a very nervous person.
Asking should be fine. Yeah. See if she's interested.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yes, I will look into it.
Let's see. Yvonne had also asked just afterwards. Yes and no. I don't know what you were referring to though. You said first introduction to formal comics in Colombia would be the Phantom, the purple dude in Africa.
Yeah. If anybody remembers, does anybody still remember? That was actually one of the first superhero movies that actually started this whole thing. The Phantom. It's this one guy in like a purple outfit, and he has like
we had a movie.
The diamond thingy. What do you call that?
The little mask.
A monocle.
Like a domino mask.
Domino mask. That's the word.
Oh.
Yeah, it was one of the first ones. It was really weird going back to it because it was like '90s kind of a movie. It's like, whoa! Like it is so unapologetically sexist in how the female characters are portrayed. It's like, wow! It's like so many of these things would not fly today.
What anime is this?
It's kind of quaint in how old timey it feels because of that. Well, sorry, what Chimera?
What anime is this? The extremely sexist one?
No, it's not an anime. It's Yvonne was talking that because we were catching up with comments.
People were saying Billy Zane.
It was one of the comic strips that we follow. It was called The Phantom. But we were saying it's like if anybody remembers it, because probably a lot of people didn't.
No, it's
a strip here. But that was actually one of the first live-action superhero comics that started the big wave of movies that were on here. The Phantom is purple leotard with the domino mask and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Four different women are just like slobbering over him throughout the thing.
Sounds fun.
Pulp stuff predates the modern superheroes. Like Doc Savage was literally called a Superman back in the movies.
No, so, yeah, but when I said like the start is because it was actually one of like the expensive superhero movies that they started with this new wave of movies.
You don't know who? Wait, Irene, you don't know who Doc Savage is, or the Phantom, or the Shadow, or anybody?
I do know the Shadow. I don't know Doc Savage. Time of Dying has an art question. Time of Dying, ask your art question.
You really do not want to talk about
if anyone has questions, just ask it in the chat. And we are here to talk about art and color, and we will eventually get to it.
Okay, Time of Dying, what is your question?
So, it was your story. So you went to college and you studied under Nolan Woodard, who taught you colors, and he's actually the guy who kind of inspired you. You didn't like coloring before that. I remember you talking about how much you didn't like it, but it was after his class that he really gave you an appreciation for it. And you actually got really good at it.
Well, yeah, because you kind of absorb a bit of that perspective that the day of the colorist and whatnot tries to dissipate. That colorists are just kind of like the end of the assembly line, and they don't really get to input any creativity. You just have to do it and make the deadlines, color within the line, little boy. So it's like, that was my perspective on it. And also it's like, man, it takes so much work. It takes so much work just to fill in the lines and just to do the bare minimum that it's so tedious. But Nolan really talked it up and showed us how a lot of other artists can both like add a lot to the storytelling. Sometimes I actually picked up the book more because of the coloring than anything else. It made me actually like it. And so when gigs like collaborating with you or with Irene showed up, it's just, I was open to it and I started liking it as well.
Yeah.
But it's helped that I have had experiences where I can, take the context that is there and hammer it out onto what I think is well, because I know that I would probably get cynical and whatnot if I was working over somebody that was very strict about me not saying anything, because I have had experiences, it's just that they haven't been the majority, so I've been able to say more positive about coloring.
Yeah. So to finish your origin story, basically what happened is that I got picked up really fast. And Nick and I think we were married before you had even graduated school.
I think.
Yeah, we were. I think it was like right before you graduated or something. But I got picked up by Colin Bunn really quick. And we were kind of on a roll. And it's like, we need a colorist.
No, because the thing is just you guys were actually, with Colin, actually thinking because it was a horror. Because we were talking about the first, our big first series, which was, the series that was originally called The Remains. You guys were actually talking about doing it in black and white.
But you can find it under the name Death Follows, is how it was published.
With Dark Horse.
With Dark Horse, yes.
Because it was published twice. Yeah, when you guys were talking about doing it in black and white, I just really disagree. I did not think that those pages looked good in black and white. And I think they needed to be in color. So I saw it. Talk to you guys and see if I could jump in. Just thought the project would be better for it.
So you pressured them into giving you a job.
I don't know, pressure.
Everybody, first lesson of the day, take initiative and ask for work.
I didn't pressure them into letting me color. I pressured them into letting me do the covers.
Oh, and then they're like, they're like, oh, these colors are so good. We have to color the whole comic. I mean, still very smart. The Ryan Cardinal says, just read Fiendish. Yay, I got to you. I'm glad to hear. And had a great time. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you liked it. Happy. And when the color version comes out, I think it'll be even better. People have been really liking the grayscale version.
Well,
I
look,
am shipping out the grayscale one, but go. I just wanted to show the book. Yeah. So these are shipping right now, but colors coming soon. Yeah, Nick, what were you saying?
Oh no, sorry. Just I didn't know you. I didn't mean to speak over you. I just saw that.
Time of Dying finally asked the question.
Yeah.
Yes. I was going to pull that up next. Okay. Time of Dying asks, what's the big difference between art that looks better in black and white and art that looks better in color? I asked because I think Fiendish looks better in color, but DDD looks better in black and white, and I don't know why. What's
DDD?
I don't know what you're referring to as DDD is. I'm assuming that somebody else that has come over here.
Death. Right.
Yeah. It's like super rendered. Kind of looks like Berserk a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, from my perspective, Time of Dying is that sometimes when a project is done, when you make it and you actually make a finished page, you do have to plan. It's like, is this being made in black and white, or is this being made to be, finished in colors? So like again, like how Chimera was comparing the DDD to like Berserk. Like, yeah, Berserk. I honestly hate the pages that like. I know there's very passionate fans and stuff that they want to color them, but I hate the color pages whenever they try and do that. I think it looks horrible. Because Miura did the ink work on that to account for the fact that there's no color. So it already treats the lines to tell you which is dark, what is dark, what is light, what is dense, what is not. And so adding color on top of it just seems superfluous and actually overshadows some of his detail that doesn't really need to be done. It's superfluous because he's already communicating much of the information that these colors are trying to do. And also his art is so saturated that there's hardly any space for the colors to really add more personality or information that Miura already puts in there. So I guess that's my thing. It's intent. Because you can clearly see sometimes when you see a book that one was intended to be in black and white, but the publisher or someone pressured them into putting it in color because colored books sell better.
Yeah, that's true. It's been very weird with Fiendish because it's almost the feedback I've been getting is either people like don't really care or they want both versions, or people are like the people who are adamant about like the color is much better or the black and white is better. It's been like almost 50-50 from kind of.
I can see why with your art style. We've talked about how like you actually tend to avoid spotting blacks a lot of the time, and you prefer soft shading, and so
it gives a very like manga feel to it already.
Yeah, it gives a manga feel to it already, so I can see why it would look good in black and white because you plan for those shades to account for. You plan for those the shading to account for like grabbing the focus and stuff. Although the fact that you don't spot blacks, a lot of manga like what Chimera was showing there, it has spotted blacks, which means like actual. That's a technical term for like when there's actually just harsh blacks as opposed to grays and gradients of grays and gray shading. And since Irene does tend to avoid doing that most of the time.
It leaves a lot of space for the rendering or the colors to actually make up in it.
It's very open. It's very light, and so colors can often just fill up that space and enhance it in some way.
I think a good example, Time of Dying, if you ever want to kind of look at designs that are deliberately being made for accounting for the lack of color, is maybe going to check out the comic book series Batman Black and White. Because they release it in black and white. It's an anthology of artists that know that they work very well with their inks, and they make stories that are deliberately working to not have color. So when you see people practicing on those pages, they don't look as good, and they can't really add that much because the styles and the way that they spot blacks, lighting, rendering, and whatever, it is trying to already make up for it. Yeah, like styles like Irene's that are very open. not putting a lot of blacks or just leave a lot of space around the panel are very good for colors to be able to fill in and just add something, because there's always ways of changing context or adding information in there.
I think it's because I started out working in animation, so I've had like a struggle with spotting blacks in my comic work more, and it's something I'm working on. But I guess it makes things easier to color, so that's good, because we had to make that shift because the comic was originally going to be in grayscale, and we had to shift, like pivot halfway, and Nick actually had to color over my shaded finished pages. So
Yeah,
it worked out.
Go back to the campaign.
What?
On your tab. Yeah, you gotta fix the eye color.
Yes, I told him. Thank you.
Yeah, they've been talking to me about that. People think that like
it's a shading.
Kind of make it think that because of the lighting affecting it is going to confuse people. That he's not actually blue-eyed.
It's a small fix. Yeah, the eye color looks different on that page. We'll fix it.
Yeah, like even like I spot blacks a lot of the time, and in my artwork, and Nick's does well. But it's like it's a really tough technique to learn. To use spotted blacks to focus the image and draw the eye where you want it to go. So that's an advanced technique, and it's still difficult for like all of us.
How have you not made any racist jokes yet? There are so many.
We're spotting.
Oh well, you can start, Chimera, I suppose.
Yeah,
the chat.
Lead the way. Oh, the chat. Maybe because my chat has class, Chimera. Have you considered that? I know you don't know what that's like, but yeah. Anyways,
they did.
You walk right into that. So here's an example of here's the original grayscale and Nick's colors. So yeah, and I picked Nick because I knew he liked monsters and he would do a good job, but also because he actually doesn't color like me. I tend to do like very almost monotone, and I tend to do local color, but then throw like a thick monotone filter over everything. But anyways,
I very much struggle when I don't like local color. I feel like it's limiting on what you can really do with scenes, because then you have to always depend on your background telling the story and never your characters.
What is local color?
Oh, right. Sorry. Local color, guys, for those that don't know, is that think about like in DC and Marvel, there's, you want your characters and the outfits that they have to show off the particular color. So like, I think the example that we always get is that in DC, they actually have a copyright over the specific blue that Superman has on his outfit. It's like Superman blue or whatever. And so like they actually do, like a lot of the times, tell their artists to not use light or any effects that will constantly be affecting their tone of color. Like they want that Superman always to read blue, even if he's like in a day where like there's like powerful light hitting him or something. You want to always be able to tell that that's blue. You always want to be able to tell that cape is red and that underwear is red.
Because it's their brand.
Quick example. Nick and I are both wearing blue right now, but because the lighting isn't very good and I don't have a good camera, it might actually look black sometimes.
Yeah, so like
the local color would be blue, but you might be seeing it as black sometimes.
Yeah. Can you actually show that the panel with Ragna casting this spell?
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. So like Ragna here is not actually green most of the time. Like she has her hair being green, but like I like affecting characters and environment by lighting. And
her fur cape is not green, is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in like other comics, they might, an editor might really push like, no, reel back those effects. You always want your characters to read with those colors, so the audience always knows to identify them even by the colors before anything else.
Yeah, especially in superhero books where the color is very important.
Yeah, and so like I rely heavily on creating contrast with color, like here. And so like when Irene says like she likes kind of, it's kind of like that when I always talk about like Twilight Princess, because like it's like that was like the big push in video games where just like they want like certain games during that time. I was like, oh, but how do we make them look like serious and adult? Just make everything brown. Brown is realistic. So they put like a gradient of brown over everything. and it's like now it's for adults.
Well, like films kind of suffered from that as, or like,
So
or like vintage films.
It looks cool and grainy, and I think it works very well on movies. But in a comic, you have to go shot by shot, and it makes things less legible.
So, Nick, do you think that Ragna needs to be thicker? I just feel like this is a missed opportunity.
Oh, man, I don't know, man. Like the thing is, like Irene really likes her sexy girls. I actually push towards the opposite. I actually do dislike that Ragna is showing so much because I'm like, in my mind, I'm just
wow.
It's really cool. Also, is she like? Does she know that people are looking at her in the camera? Why is she shoving her boobs out like that? But I was like, everybody has their legs. Like, you clearly want them to be thicker. I would honestly prefer for her to cover up. It's like, okay, now she's smart. She knows to cover up in cold weather.
That's right. Nick likes girls.
So, anyhow, I am like, this whole thing with Ragna, I'm getting like push and pull from two sides. It's like every time I draw her, because you'll see more of her. This is all I'm showing of her. She's at the end of chapter 1, but you'll see more of her in chapter 2. But basically, she likes showing off her body, and she's always wearing like these low cut tops and like, this dress. That's basically how she dresses. And like half the time I get either, oh my God, why is she throwing her butt out? That's so impractical. And then the other time I get like, her ass needs to be bigger. Yeah. She's not curvy enough. So I can't win. Maybe it's good. Maybe it's good that I'm just right in the middle. Okay. Maybe that's
not the
fine.
Interiors, but maybe the chapter
arguments seeming equally as compelling.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, maybe not the interiors, but maybe the chapter 2 cover, just make her a bit thicker. Like, it's not super noticeable, but it kind of, because people buy things based on the cover.
She's really thick on the chapter 2 cover already.
Well, she can be thick.
Just as pinup covers, just showing their
I don't
ass.
think you understand how asses work. An ass can never be too big. Boobs can be too big, but asses can be too big.
I think that sounds like a personal preference.
I think you might want to look for more specific comics that lean towards that, though.
Okay.
Listen, she wears a fur coat and like she wears a long dress. It's just it works. It works. She's not that cold.
Chimera just asked me my opinion. This is your book, and you design your character. Enjoy your character.
Honestly, like
thicker, like even
if this is not that, even if it's a cold environment, I've gone around like New York in winter. Like as long as I have like a fluffy coat on and boots, like I'll wear shorts. It's not that bad.
I don't know. Yeah. I went to glaciers in Chile, and I was like frozen and like had to like be dragged over to be heated up because my legs were just completely immobile.
But did you wear the glorious combination of booty shorts and boots?
I guess not. Maybe the confidence that would have heated me up from the inside.
Exactly. This is how things work.
Maybe the fact that I was going with my family made me think twice about it.
Really? Oh, well, don't be so self-conscious. They should accept you if they're your family.
Right.
Should do that next time.
After working on Fiendish, I think if this has inspired me to be more true to myself, especially with Chimera. That he said that an ass can never be too big. I thought that was not really a thing, but yeah,
it is.
I might have to go booty short hunting.
We're all here for boosting people's confidence.
Okay. Generally made a knuckle bomb, and her thighs are thick, so just make the thighs thicker.
Well, yeah, she's like muscular. Ragna's not muscular.
Just a little thicker.
Yeah.
Okay. So
maybe we can do.
Are you getting to work on the body pillows
for the next campaign?
A preview video.
Yeah, with those booty shorts.
Okay, and then everybody can weigh in on how good you look in booty shorts.
If you think it's bad now.
Is there such thing as too thick? Yes, no.
Okay.
Chat, vote. Is there such a thing as too thick? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Let's put an end to this debate once and for all. Arcanus Einbrecht. Did I pronounce that right? I tried. It says, got my copy of Fiendish. Yay! Solid read. Thanks for for putting the book out so quickly and producing high quality. Oh, I'm so glad you
Aw.
think so.
Yeah,
Yay!
sure,
Thank
Candace.
you. Thank you for your support. I hope you're looking forward to chapter 2. It'll be up soon. I'm hoping to have this sign up in November. So, yeah.
Jeez, even Ivan was mentioning on that about like how it's what is it like? We people from below the equator line have a -3 to cold area. You know what? I would like to generalize that, but I honestly do have conversations with people about this, and I just can't believe it because like. I mean, I know that AC is like super sensitive to the cold, and so she's always wearing 3 layers when I just have like a t-shirt. But even I'll go out and like Bogota is cold, you know, because we're in the like near the Andes and stuff. But like I still see girls with like how Irene says, just like they'll just go with their booty shorts or just pants that are barely pants because they don't have like the holes on the knees, but they just have like whole legs just ripped off with the pieces just hanging off, and then they'll just have a poofy jacket. I'm just.
It depends on the person, really. As I have a friend who he was from Hawaii, and he would like in the freezing winter when Atlanta had a snowpocalypse that year, he would be going around in like shorts and he was like, "This is perfect for me." He's from Hawaii, so it's just everybody's different.
But it's like it's Colombia. It's like I've lived around this weather, and somehow all these girls like really insist on going on these booty shirts, but then also having the jackets. Which is like, what weather is
their
this?
Their priority is fashion. They're like, does this silhouette make me look good? They're not thinking, oh, I need to dress for cold weather.
Okay.
I feel warmer today. I'm going to
anyhow, why don't we get to colors?
Okay.
Alex BRD wants me to share something in the chat.
As I passes up to another shot of Ragnar's butt.
I mean, no, that's all I'm showing of Ragnar's butt right now. If you want more Ragnar's butt, you should buy the book.
Okay.
No. So anyhow, yeah, this is also another sneak peek. I wasn't gonna show these pages, but I really like how this board turned out. So this is in the secret pages in the back. So you did you have some of like your coloring work pulled up? Did you want to show everyone your coloring process? And because there's a lot that is hard to talk about unless you have like Photoshop open and you talk about like how the process works.
Yeah, I had a page opened up from Deepest Catacombs if we needed to actually like talk about the process or something.
Yeah.
But I'm also good just talking. Whatever.
I think bring it up.
Oh, okay. I don't.
Thank you, AC. I think that's
how do I do it? Because you kicked out the account that was.
Share your screen. You'll be backstage. Just
go to backstage and StreamYards. Look at the bottom. It's you see. Don't click on the big red button. Click share. You see, it's mute, sub, cam, mic, and share screen. You see that? And then
stop, cam, mic. Okay, and then I go on to what?
I swear we are millennials.
Is there a stretch goal that will get Nick a better computer?
No.
You can actually mute his thing.
Okay, I will.
That might be a bad idea. I might have to enter like click out of the other stuff.
Okay. Enter again. I will mute you and then share your screen. Guys, this is great. This is great. This is so smooth, and we are professionals.
So it's just that, right? Just muting and taking on.
There you go. Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry, just tried to get in there quickly and I forgot to turn all that. Sorry for everybody's ears.
It's fine. I think this is retribution for me blowing everybody's eardrums out all the time.
Okay, share screen.
You're welcome, Yvonne. I mean, you should be used to this by now. Let me just cycle through some more of these colors. These turned out very well. I really like how this page turned out. Yeah, everyone, you can still get Fiendish on in-demand. I know it's been in-demand forever, but it will probably only be up for another month or so. I'm hoping to print and ship the books next month. The color books. Grayscale is already going out. So I am taking down chapter 1 as soon as chapter 2 goes up. So not much longer. Yep. And check out the website, by the way. I don't think I promoted a website in a while. Fiendishcomic.com. I have a preview. I have like a 20-page preview on here and a bunch of other info. I have like species information and a world map and all kinds of other shit. So if you didn't know I had that, you should definitely check it out. Oh, there you go. All right. Let's go. Ooh, I remember this page. Yeah. This is Aliased Inks.
Yes.
Yeah. This was for a project that we did with our constant collaborating writer Colin Bunn, and he made this fun project, and it came around the same time when we were again being really interested in Pathfinder and role playing. So he made a anthology of a bunch of retro feeling little vignettes of adventuring D&D party going into the dungeon. This was one of AC's pages.
Yeah, the project is called Deepest Catacombs, and you can read. I can't remember how many pages. You might be able to read all of it for free on his Patreon.
Yep.
Yes, all of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can go page by page. It's just like when it was coming out, you would have to pay for it if you wanted to read all of it, but because he would be releasing it little by little.
But yeah, you should read it. He wrote it all, and he just divided up the pages between different artists. And Irene is in there.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah.
I don't like the page I did, but
Did
yeah,
you
I
do
wasn't
this
there.
page?
What?
Did you do this page?
This is AC's page.
Oh, okay.
Alex VRB asks, "Is that a flying pig familiar?"
No, it's not flying. No, it's not
It
flying.
is a pig familiar, though.
Like, you should definitely go to Colin's page because cool stuff happens with that pig. One of those pages, unfortunately, had a really funny joke, a very funny visual joke, but Colin decided to censor it.
No,
it was changed. Yeah. But if you guys check it out and come back with that, I can tell you what was originally happening on that one of those pages.
Oh, by the way, we helped Colin design these characters, and it was Nick's idea to come up with the pig in the first place. So
yeah. These.
So this is a web comic I can read, or
it's kind of like but on Patreon.
Yeah. Go to Colin Bunn's Patreon, and then
can I read it for
I'm
free?
going to paste it in the chat.
Well, can I read it for free? I don't want to pay.
Yes, we said you can read it for free.
Thank you for listening.
I'm not listening.
Just facilitating us being able to repeat the information 3 times for the slow kids on the back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
Whatever he says.
Consider to all of the chat. I mean, in case somebody was not paying attention. Thanks, dude.
Colin's Patreon is now in the chat, so everybody go check it out.
Who's Colin?
But I think that this is actually, I pulled this one because I think it's a good example of what we were talking about for pages that have been designed for being colored and ones that haven't. So the example that I was bringing up was ones that are very highly detailed. So on this one, you see that a lot of the page is very filled in, but the shadows and the detail is kind of left a little bit rough. So if you see the walls, it's more like a brush texture. And this kind of graininess that is kind of given because it's and the characters are almost completely white with that very little shadow kind of doing it and this gives a lot of space for colors to kind of do the heavy lifting on it. And also another good thing, you can do pages that are highly detailed. I know that this is not the best example, but AC did a good amount of detail on this area where the Pharaoh guy is kind of walking out. So there's a lot of detail there, and we have the smoke, the eerie kind of ghostly smoke kind of serving as focus. But when you do a very detailed page that still leaves space open for colors, it can be a good way of getting a hyper-saturated page and creating focus in between. So that's the page, and the first thing that we obviously do is just create some base colors. And so it's just making those, when we talked about our friend that does the flats.
But these are flats, right? By the way, you have some lines in that are colored when you had just the ink showing. Those are color holds, right? You want to tell everybody what color holds are?
Oh, yeah, sure. Color holds is when you want to do simple effects like that. For example, the wizard's little fireball or the smoke here. Honestly, if it wasn't because we had different kinds of eerie smoke on this scene with the Pharaoh kind of having this eerie smoke and then also little wisps, I would have hesitated to do more of these fill in where you actually occupy the same amount of space as the inks, but go over them with colors so that they can either recede or come forth or draw more attention in the composition of the page. In this case, just trying to both kind of use the kind of fit in with the psychedelic kind of color scheme, but still allow the blacks that the area that AC kind of centered on the pharaoh to be the center point on that composition. And also it helped like in areas like here, like with the little cat, the whiskers and the not eyebrows. What do you call these?
The
eyebrows? I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah, whatever.
I was gonna say eyelashes.
Sure.
Eyebrows. The eyebrows,
I guess eyebrows
are color holds, because it would be harder to put those colors as just like the normal colors underneath, because they might be, you know, like I do a lot of effects and stuff like that. So local color tends to be disrupted. But at this one, you wanted to make clear that this is a black cat with, you know, the shorthand that goes in comics, that like black is usually affected in light in comics by being purple or blue.
Mm-hmm.
So that's still understandable. So making it a color hold makes it that those colors go on top of the layers of the inks, are unaffected by everything else, and will always stay that color. And those, you know, and that way you always kind of keep it so that it would be a bit of a more flat image, since the cat is pretty much a whole shadow.
Yeah. That also like yeah, I had to do that on a separate layer. I did this page digitally.
Yeah.
And I deliberately like put those on a separate layer when I know like this thing has to be colored, like the smoke and all that stuff. All the lines that are colored, I put on a separate layer because I know he's going to be colored.
Yeah, it helps that we've been collaborating for a while.
Yes.
So when after some pages, I was just like, yeah, AC, like this is actually like a lot of work for me to just select by myself. Why don't you're doing it digitally anyway, why don't you just leave this one on a separate layer, and all this other stuff that I don't have any reason to not treat as just inks, just flatten the rest out.
Right, I've learned to do that most of the time, because a lot of the time you just have to do it yourself, and it takes a horribly long time to do.
I like the pig. It reminds me of the pig from Seven Deadly Sins.
Everybody likes the pig.
Oh, I love that little pig. I hated that they actually like had a good character that was totally expendable, and they killed it just to be complete pussies and revive it like 2 seconds later. That was such
The pig?
Yeah, that was such a bitch move from that manga. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. In that manga, that little pig has a mom that's like the size of a building and has like a house on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, and it talks. Does this pig talk?
No, but it does some other magic stuff on some other people's pages.
You should check out the comic.
You really should, Chimera. There's some cool pages in there.
The link is in the chat.
And it's free, you say?
Yes, you bastard.
Okay. I mean, it says $1. I don't know if I can afford that.
What?
You don't have to pay that to check them out.
Yeah, I think the comics are public posts. But
yeah.
Anyways. So color holds are basically when you want to color part of the line work, especially for lighter stuff like smoke or fire or effects.
Yeah, so like see like on this page where they're it's kind of lagging.
It's lagging quite a lot. I'm not sure.
Is it?
Yeah, like I'm actually in a completely different part of the page right now.
Oh wow. Okay, it's fine. We'll just wait.
Yeah,
it's just silence.
Did I mention we have technical difficulties? Let's talk to the chat. Hi, chat. The link is in the chat. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, the example I was going to talk about is the one below. Because it's these characters actually walking through this path, and even right now where they're like, it's just flats. Just having made the sun and the clouds on the background color folds already does the work of just pushing them to the back. Because when you fill in the lines of the art, it already makes the object or image be understood as lighter, because it almost feels like kind of like a ghost or smoke or fire. It's something that is not heavy or tactile, and so like even on flats, it already just pushes them far back. It's like, oh, this is not here, this is far off, just for that.
Cool. So once you inks, color holds, flats, and then what's your next step?
The next work is pretty much like what Irene had on the original black and white version of the comic, which is that we make a layer that is kind of independent of everything else, and it just needs to be the rendering. And so we put the values on it needs to be darker or lighter, and sometimes you can just create the whole composition just out of that, because you can kind of create the focus just with lightness and darkness. So yeah, I tend to just kind of set. Well, again, I'm assuming that most people here like know comics or know some of the art, but for those that don't, the right part of the screen there, you see those little boxes on the program. Those are the layers, and that's the usual amount of layers that I work with on most pages.
But you've got folders here, and you can expand them.
No, yeah, but the folders are like other stuff. Those are, but like the layers that I'm showing here are usually the amount that I tend to actually handle.
Because like one of them is the inks, and I have multiple layers for inks, like I mentioned.
Yeah. So again,
wow. Okay, so 3-minute delay. Okay.
Wow. That took forever.
Jeez. So I'm gonna pay you in a new computer.
I mean, is it my computer?
No, making it stretchable.
It has to be. I've never had anyone lag this much on my streams.
Yeah, you have to make it a
I
35 page
remember lagging like this on the screen for like Pathfinder.
I have to wonder if you like quit your screen share and load it up again, that it might just be updated.
No.
Everyone, please back Fiendish so I can buy this man a new computer.
Please.
I'm serious. Like I do a lot of layers for my comic, and it's been his computer has struggled with my pages. Like it lags all the time. This is another one of the problems we've been running into.
But yeah, so like you see in this panel how it's like something you're taught with colors is atmospheric perspective, where atmospheric perspective is a technical term for like how as things recede into the background, they fade into the same color. So it's an easy technique to make things recede further into the backgrounds, to make them all kind of blend in a little bit more than the figures in the foreground.
It's actually really interesting. In case for other folks, if you guys are not, versed much in coloring and stuff, but like it's actually really weird because I have my screen looking at it on the side, and then I'm looking at Ariel here and how we're kind of looking at the stream. And the colors are so different because her screen, like I work in CMYK, which is the profile that you work on for
printing.
For the spectrum of inks that are accessible to a printer. And then the ones that I'm seeing here, since her Mac is actually set up for RGB, that is the color scheme that is available for a computer. It's different, and so sometimes when you get one code for one color to another, and it tries to interpret it, it goes very different. Well,
not only that, you can see in the grays of the actual program that mine is a bit more red shifted than yours. Yours is a bit bluer than mine.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird to see the colors. Like it looks, the image looks so much darker.
But that is important because you have to pay attention to all of these shifts, slight shifts in color, and you actually have to we have like a device that you can use to actually put onto your computer screen and actually shift the colors to match your printing quality or something. Well, how does that work?
Yeah, well, the deal is that even when you set up your monitor to have a particular setup, to be understanding and trying to be as faithful to CMYK as possible, it starts kind of veering away from that. Like little changes, like changing the opacity of your screen. I never change the opacity of my screen because of that.
That's not opacity. Brightness.
Brightness. Thank you. The brightness, because that fucks with it. And so little by little, it starts veering away from the colors that I want to I know would come out on when this is printed.
I've noticed that printing is just very fickle, even though printers now are very good. The problem usually isn't gradations, but it's especially greens and purples will just come out all weird. And purples always print weird for me. And I don't, you have to take into account, definitely work in CMYK, but the best thing to do, honestly, and Nick, you told me you have been doing this, you've been printing out the pages just at home with your home printer to check if the colors look good in print.
Well, I don't do it all the time. It's just that we had a very weird way in which I was having to apply these colors.
That's true.
So I was just I know how it looks on the screen, but a lot of this is dependent on how effects work off of different layers, which is not normal for how I work. So I was this looks good on the screen, but this could come out really muddy, which again, for those that don't know, muddy is when there's a overlap of different kinds of inks over one another. And even though it looks nice and having a cool gradation, pretty cool on the screen, when it prints out, it's just kind of how when you're in kindergarten with in art school and you're just learning to mix colors. You mix too many colors everything will just come into just brown or black, and it'll just look really bad, and it'll go deeper than others. If you guys like go for like old comics, you'll sometimes see that areas of overlap between two colors will create a starkly deeper black or brown than anything else, and it is because of that ink bleeding on top of each other. It looks really weird.
Mm-hmm. And the thing with the Fiendish pages is you usually want your, like the page you have here, this is like what normal professionals do, and I am apparently an idiot and a crazy person. So usually when
you were working for just yourself, when you were working for Black,
I am chaos embodied, and my process is stupid, and Nick is blessed for having to deal with it. So like the way you normally would make comics is you make your lines completely sharp, so aliased, and that's how these lines that AC is doing. It's basically, it looks like it's bitmap. It's like a hard edge. You don't have any grays on your inks, and then
so like if you guys see those,
so pure black and white pixels only for the inks.
Yeah,
is what I mean.
You see, even here on the effects, AC, you can see it's actually just like a pattern of dots. There's no blacks that are not pure black in here.
That's how we're taught to
Really?
make comic inks.
I wasn't taught that. I just decided to do it because I liked how crisp everything looked, and,
well, there you go, honey. That's why
it's so crunchy and nice.
That's why you got hired.
Yes, you're so smart. You're so smart. Okay.
Like in Irene's comic, you'll see that a lot of the lines will have an in-between tone. They won't necessarily be like pitch black or like gray. They'll be like a gradient in between, and so color bleeds through that.
Yeah, and like a lot of printing is so good now. The way comics are, you traditionally make comics is like these sharp black and white only lines is because printing, it transfers better to printing, and for that way when the colors are applied, there is no K value, which is K is the black value in printing mixed over the color. So right now what you see here, it would be much more accurate. Like what you see on screen and you're coloring in CMYK, it will print pretty close to what you see right now, because there is like purely the colors and like the blacks are separate. But for the way I work, there's a lot of gray. So that means there's a lot of K value mixed in with the colors that Nick eventually has to do. So we have to be very careful, even though printing now is pretty good and you can handle it, but you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah, so like that kind of stuff started because back in the day, everything had to be done in like kind of similarly to screen printing, which meant that you had to go like, if you guys see them again, like anybody that has old comics, you can see that where everything clearly was like, put on the page, stamp blue, all the blue stuff, change to the thing, all the things that are red, stamp on, and so like sometimes the page would shift around a little bit in that process, and you'll see that kind of like weird kind of 3D like 90s effect where like some of the colors are a little bit kind of discordant on placement.
Yeah, the plates don't line up exactly.
It's seen as a very retro comic thing. It's actually because of that mistake. And for that very same mistake, you can old comics are probably like the worst ones at handling bleeding between colors. And so that's also why you needed your blacks to be as thick as possible so as to cover those in-betweens, because that would inevitably going to be happening with screen printing. And so the black lines would always be kind of like the forgiving gutter where the ugly overlap can be hidden.
Mm-hmm. And I think we should also mention what backing your blacks mean, because when we went to school for comics, we were taught to account for the possibility of printing being offset and printing mistakes. So even though printing now is really good, like I said, you're supposed to account for what if the printing plate shift, because the way Nick talked about like the printing press going like K value, C value, like, cyan, yellow, magenta, and black. That's CMYK. All these, that's still how printing is done now. It's just the machines line up very accurately. So like for large scale press printing, like you have digital printing, and then you have lithographic printing and like plate printing. And for like large print runs, you want to go with plate printing because it's actually more cost efficient. But they still do like the different plates. It lines up very well with modern technology. But you should account for any possible mistakes by making sure your colors are, you know, like don't just end right at the edge of the line work.
Yeah, yeah, and like if you guys go to like conventions and stuff, that's actually one of the, like, if you go for like some fancy printing, there'll most likely be some fancy screen printing. I think actually, yeah, we have one right here. This we had a. Well, it's not gonna be OSC, but whatever. It's like
I can pull it off. I can show like with.
Yeah, so like we have some
sure.
nice screen printed posters here. Like that Evangelion one is screen printed.
Oh, Evangelion. Evangelion.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not sure.
Let me full screen you.
What? Oh, okay. Oh.
Oh yeah, that's nice. Is this the same artist that did the Akira one? This reminds me of an Akira print.
He did a lot of anime ones. Like he hung out with Julie from college.
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
remember
that's
his
really
name.
pretty.
I just came across the table because she was there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he didn't
I
write
think I know
his
who that
name on
is.
the front that we can see it.
We got 3 pieces from him.
Oh, shit.
one of them must have. But
You're flying.
yeah, so like that, like if you guys see those and you sometimes see like those very fancy prints, but like they have like limited colors, and you're like, why is it so expensive? Is because they're going through like the manual screen printing process, which is harder, and it's more taxing to do it, but it comes out so pretty, and the colors are extremely
Oh,
vibrant.
like this one?
Yeah, like that Wonder Woman.
Oh, that's a lot easier of an example.
The thing with screen printing. So what I'm talking about with the CMYK offset printing, plate printing, that is essentially the same process as screen printing. But okay, let me full screen you again. But except the offset printing for like large print runs for books is done by machine. For screen prints, this like the reason screen prints cost so much and it's an artsy collector thing, and they do limited print runs is because for these it's kind of like its own industry. You know, you do limited print runs. You have to do limited runs because these are done by hand.
Look at some of these. You can actually tell a little bit of the offset. I'm sure this was deliberate on the artist's part, but you can tell that there's a tiny bit of offset.
I can see the blue in like kind of in the.
Yeah, it's really hard to show with just my laptop, but it is slightly offset.
Let's all appreciate AC carrying her laptop, like flying into the wall for us to enjoy this artwork. Alex TRB said he's air sick, but yeah. So long story short, the way they do these screen prints is nowadays it's like litho. It's like think about like wood printing, the way they used to do it in like the Renaissance, but now it's like you do a computer generated file and you separate like every color into a different layer, and then the computer generates a plate, and then you put the plate down, and then you like brush a color over that plate, then you pick it up, let it dry, then you put another plate down, brush the second color over, and that's how these prints are done. And that's done like plate after plate by hand. That's why those are expensive, and that's why it's limited print run. It's like collector artist item. But I forgot what else I was talking about. But yeah, so that's how that's done.
All right.
So. Chat, tell me if like you have any questions.
Coloring is so complicated. Like
it is complicated. I don't know if I'm like we're being too technical or not technical enough. Like, let us know, because
you know, like I would color my own stuff when I was in high school, and once I got into college, and it's like, oh no, this is what coloring entails. All of this technical stuff, because you have to figure out how your colors translate to print. I was like, oh no, I can barely figure out how to color stuff.
It's a weird thing. It's kind of like when you start, when you start drawing and you're actually starting to take it more seriously, because as a kid, you don't do under drawings. And so you're used to just kind of go, like, I want to draw, like, I don't know, Pikachu, and you just go with your ballpoint pen and drawing it. But then when you grow up, you realize, like, I can do this 10 times better, but I need an underdrawing. So essentially I need to draw this 3 times, I draw it in pencil, and then I fix all the issues, and then slowly go out with inking so that it can be as pristine as possible. Same thing with colors. So it's like, it's that little pushback where you've got used to, like, oh, but I always put my pieces on DeviantArt, and they show great on DeviantArt and stuff, but like, try printing that shit. It looks horrible.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you have to, it's kind of like underdrawing. You have to like do the work underneath that and like make sure that all the values actually work in with the kind of profile that you're giving your work. Make sure that those don't clash and none of those colors go into murky browns or black, stuff like that. And there's various ways of doing that. For someone that wants to just like make it easy and understands Photoshop, and I think I recommended that same thing to Ivan when he was doing a piece, is that you can just put all your colors into a folder, and you can just actually go to the settings of the folder and just sit and eliminate all of the K values from it.
So K stands for black, right?
Yeah,
and why does that not translate well to printing?
Because when the printing happens, unlike what we talked about, like screen printing and plate printing, where like each color is done individually, when you're going through it on like through digital printing, the inkjets of the machine are actually kind of applying them and sometimes even mixing the color because they're going so fast, right? And so you'll find different values. Like for example, here, like this page is so green, like obviously the value here of the kind of lemon green sky is a lot lighter than the dark green of the stairs of the mummy guy, but both of them are darker than the green smoke. So like a lot of times that's obvious, basic color theory of just like, oh yeah, that's a mixing of yellow and blue, but then to different degrees, and then a different amount of black ink will be applied to that too to be able to attain those colors. And the problem is that sometimes when you do that digitally to attain certain colors that look nice on RGB, which again is the profile to look at things through computer monitors, they look fine, but when they're applied in real life, those pigments add up to a mess. And so sometimes if you don't really want to like deal with too much of that homework, you just want to tell the folder, eliminate all the dark ink in there, and that way you don't have to worry about it. It'll make your color palette a bit more limited, but that way you don't have to constantly be thinking about it. It's a good crutch to start out with.
Good point. Essentially, I mean, once again, in cases I don't know, like I'm just gonna repeat things and like this is how I think of it. What shows up colors that can be displayed on a screen are not the same colors that can be printed with normal printers. And this is another thing.
Or you have to go to great lengths to make your monitor portray those colors that are actually printed.
Yes.
That requires kind of a bit of a nuisance on things. Like that's why I have that machine that AC was talking about.
I tried to look for it, I couldn't find it.
It's fine.
That is really cool. You guys got to show me. Another thing I forgot to mention with screen printing is the cool thing is you can use with screen printing, you can use Pantones, which are like fancy colors like metallics and like neon colors. That's another selection of colors that don't show up on a screen, and you can't print through large printing press, but you can only do it with like handmade screen prints. So that's another reason screen prints are so expensive. So it's the same process of like different plates, but you can, because I've done like one screen print before, and it's hard because like it's also very technical. It's like you do the drawing and then you have to like make sure things are like separated, every color. It's like this, except you have to be that. The computer won't separate the CMY key for you. Have to separate it, and then you have to determine like which color is what and how they will mix, and you have to separate them into layers, and you have to just hope it looks good because you don't really know until you make the screen print. And but with like handmade screen printing, you can do like metallics, neon, glow in the dark colors, anything you fucking want. So that's yeah, and they're really, it's really fun if you get into it, but it's hard. Oh, and Alex VRB is saying, so Nick is saying is printed colors is what separates men from the boys or the women from the girls. That's what we're saying.
That's really what our Professor Nolan kind of made it sound like. It sounded very daunting when he was presenting it to us, but like the more you do it, the more it's like, like you kind of just understand it, and you slowly just kind of have it in the background. And also sometimes it's like I talk the gospel of colors a lot, but a lot of the stuff that I also talk is like I already have it like automated with my settings, so I don't even have to worry about it a lot of the times. So
Yeah.
it sounds daunting, but like, you know, it's just like those processes, like I don't like underdrawing for normal drawings. Like it sounds like a complete hassle. Why would I want to draw it 3 times? I'm great at drawing. My Pikachu came out super cool the first time.
Yeah, coloring is really, really technical if you want to do it for printing, not if you're going to do it just to put it on DeviantArt.
Yeah.
But it's just like 3D modeling and animation. It's technical, but once you like practice over and over again, you get used to it. It's just you don't think about it anymore.
Oh, so also I didn't notice. Like, Time of Dying was saying goodbye.
Bye.
Yeah, but I just noticed.
Yeah, I pulled up his chat.
Thanks for joining us.
But he said he's enjoying this, so yeah. I hope you get to come back and watch the replay. So, base colors, flats, shades, and then what do you do now? This is like very few layers. You just see my files. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, I know. I'm complaining to read about that. Yeah. So I was like, I just abbreviate like deets as like I just do like little things like
details.
Like little changes here. You see that there's a extra spectrum of color that goes in there. I'll switch it on and off a few times in case you guys didn't catch it. But see, like that blue that goes over the sky. A little bit of extra change and depth to the shadows to emphasize some of the characters and where they're standing. And some of the green and definition over on the mummy guy, and up here, like you see, like that division of the blue area from the green area down the stairs on that first panel. That's all created on this layer because it's color that is affecting on top of the one that I already has as a base.
Oh yeah, you threw the blue to separate the scenes afterwards over here. Okay, I see. I like how you deets.
I know this is like you're going layer by layer. Detail sounds very situational.
It is. This is not something to like go by. I'm just saying like this is kind of like how I kind of layer my work, and like it's basically deets is like all the miscellaneous stuff that I know that needs to be underneath effects that will go over. So like to not make a million layers like you would do in animation for each little thing. It's like all these miscellaneous things that I know that don't need to be separate, just jam them into one layer and there.
When you, in your process, do you go like just chronologically stacking one layer on top of each other? Like now I need to put in my details. Now I need to put in my, really? Don't?
I go that because it coloring and art in general can be very easy to lose yourself in the details and to like never end. And so this makes me have a pattern. And so just like, just like your regular cubicle job, it tells me like, I did this, so I need to get to this one. So I need to get to this one, so I get to that one. Okay. And so it forces me to kind of put a time limit on myself and not waste too much time on each step, because each step is telling me like, yeah, but I need to finish this so I can get to the next one.
Okay.
How am I going to get to the effects if I don't finish this? Like, okay, let's hurry up on this one.
All right.
Yeah, that's a nice way of like controlling your workflow. One more thing I forgot we didn't mention was we talked about Aliased Inks, but so the flats, see like the base layer of the colors that we mentioned, like right after you finish, step back to step 0. The traditional way of doing flat. Yeah, there you go. That's really helpful if you could just see the flats alone. The flats are also raster. They're aliased, like complete sharp edges. And the use for this is not just to lay down, okay, these are the local colors for all these objects.
Let me go a little specific on that. Because like it's when Irene means like hard edges, is not just to like make like clean lines, is that you actually have to take into account pixels. Because everything on the screen is made out of pixels. So you need to not use brushes or effects that will give you in between. So you need to fill out pixel by pixel a full color and make it be hard. So like if you zoom in into like flats or details like ouchies, or like it kind of like how we were talking about the inks, there is no in between value. They might seem like a little texture here, but if you look, it's just like kind of like
sloppy.
It's kind of like looking at an old an old video game like Pong or whatever. It is divided into little pixels so that selection is perfect. That way there's no leeway and there will be mistakes in between. Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
The way you achieve this is use the pencil tool to flat, or use the lasso tool, but click off anti-alias. For the lasso or like whatever tool in Photoshop, click off anti-alias because you want these to be alias. So, and the purpose for this is throughout the rest of your process, you will be going back to your flats layer and using the magic wand tool, and this is the way we were taught, and either way, but this is kind of like the industry standard. That's how we were taught. So, like, use the magic wand tool. Click on off contiguous, so it will select this color across the entire layer, and that way you will always be referencing your flats layer. And for example, I need if I need to color the like do some detail on this witch girl's skin, but how do I only paint on the area that's her skin? Well, I go to my flats layer, I select that color, and then it'll be a nice sharp edge, and then I can detail that on the detail layer above, and then click on her hair and then work on that on the same detail layer. It saves you layers, and you always have this one layer to go back and make your selections with.
I think a good example for people that might not do art and stuff is that if you guys watch YouTube videos, it's become a joke to use like stock images because people start kind of trying to charge you money for using those specific pictures, or everybody just started using those stock pictures even when they have like the little watermarks and all that stuff on top. It's like, who cares? When you guys see like people that don't know how to handle like Photoshop and stuff like that, you'll see that those stock pictures, they try to crop them, but you'll have like really bad edges, and they have like weird splotches of like the white and stuff that's still on there, just kind of moving at the same time. That's one of the problems of that. That image is purposely designed so that you can't cut it easily. That's what the watermarks are there for. That's what all those marks are there, so that there's always weird in-between values that can't be easily selected. And so that's why we make this little roadmap at the bottom, so that these colors are not faithful at all. They're just made to create harsh contrast so we can tell if the lines are correct or not. But that way they serve as easy selections. And so you can just click it and the cuts are perfect to the line and where they're supposed to be. Whereas if you go to one of those stock images, you can try and select it, but there'll be a gradient of colors and there'll be a watermark on top of it, and it'll look like a mess, like one of those early 2000s videos that are used as stock sprites of Sonic the Hedgehog or something. It's like really big crushed on the corners and stuff.
Yeah, the problem is that, like, if you don't use flats, and if you don't use flats, and if you don't use like aliased selections, then if you ever get to the point where it's like, oh wait, I actually wanted this to be a different color, or I wanted to put an effect on this and only this shape, it becomes a challenge of actually selecting the exact part that you want, and you can end up with like little blurry, like it looks like you didn't color in the lines correctly, and it just becomes a big hairy mess if you don't set this up to begin with.
Yeah, the smart way to work is to work alias. Or if you can work like me and do everything anti-alias, but then what I do is every single object is its own layer. Then I do a clipping mask for the shading and highlight to that object to every single color. But then you need at least 32 gigs of RAM, and if you don't have a computer like that, don't do it.
Right now is very representative of his process on Fiendish.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's very useful in animation, because you obviously always want every piece and be able to reference it so that you can move it to animate stuff and take reference of it. But in comics, it's just a huge waste of space, and you end up needing a map to walk through people's files because they're so big.
Thank you.
This comic is free, you say.
Okay, man.
Are you still bitching about having to pay for art?
Are you still killing your cops on your game? What's going on, man?
He's bitching about having to pay for art.
Also, I spotted a black, the elf.
Wow.
I've been waiting 20 minutes to do that joke.
Yeah,
bye.
I think she was initially supposed to be. I think she was initially supposed to be white, but I think she looks so much better with the bright greens with dark skin. You know what? I think I want to blame anime, but the way that anime depicts black elves, I think I really like them. I think they look really cool because bright colors
or like contrast so nicely with their skin. They look so cool all the time. And in animation, their movements can be caught so much more easily than other characters. So I have a preference for dark elves. I think they look cooler.
Oh, it's a dark elf. I didn't notice.
Let's see. So yep. So it was just details, and then after that is what we talked about. Like, you know, I've got 32 gigabytes of RAM on my desktop. I used to play video games so much.
That does also help.
Yeah, you know, that's completely fair. There's a reason why I can't play very many video games.
Having a powerful computer surely does help do everything. I love it.
Yeah, but like, and also the more that you work and the more pages that you end up having to do, like, you don't want to save them because they're a resource, but they eat up all of your memory all the time, and you want to keep the full file so you can like see like, how the hell did I do this? Like it worked like magic that one time. Like how did like with Irene's page, like how the hell did I figure out how to like color from on top? Let me go back onto those files and figure that out so I can try it on this new project. But then I have to save up all of those huge files on my computer.
Well, by the way, I think I've noticed you in the past, I think you still do this, have like just a sheet of paper next to you and have like a cheat sheet of codes and stuff for often like scenes and color palettes and stuff. And you write down like,
oh, you know, yeah, that's a good point. Like, a lot of, you know what, most colors that I know actually have a better way of handling this, and is that Photoshop does have a function where you can save a palette. And so, like, for example, our professor, Nolan, actually would constantly have a palette on that, but like,
it's not labeled.
It's really hard for me because I think I chuck it up to my visual memory. I learn more and understand things by looking at them, and just having a little palette of colors. That's a yellow, but I know I handled like 4 different kinds of yellows on these scenes, which specific yellow, and it's not big enough. So I actually do a Word file where I write down specific key colors that I need to keep track of. Like, for example,
like the color address.
What is the,
there's a
term.
Yeah.
You guys see, like here, let's see, if I go here, you see these, it's gonna take forever. There we go. So if you see here in Photoshop, this CMYK, there's a value for each one, because each one of those letters is the amount of color of that is applied to that specific color. So it's kind of like the web address for that specific color. So it's like the amount of cyan, the amount of magenta, the amount of yellow, and the amount of black that is added to that. And so I keep a cheat sheet of some books that I need to keep something consistent. So for example, for like the Fiendish book, I actually have a specific color that I use for the blush of human characters, specifically for that book. And I have a specific color that I'll use for...
like eye whites and teeth or something?
No, those ones I actually don't keep them because I just reference others because there's too many. And so I actually keep like a bunch of pages. It's just that, for example, things that are like effects or things that go over, I'll keep them because I need to do that every page. And if I don't have that cheat sheet, I would have to go onto those files, go into the effects folder, open up the page, put them at full resolution, and then click out all the other layers to be able to extract that color. Yeah. So it's like, I don't want to do that, so I have a cheat sheet of all those colors that are not immediately evident from just referencing other files. So like the blush, the color of the sunlight on some books, and the color of blood, for example, on Fiendish. I have a specific color for the blood, but the blood is always very dirty or applied on different colors, so it's not pure when you look at it on the pages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very well. Obviously, this is something you would do for animation, but you should also do it for comics to keep things consistent.
Yeah. So yeah, like a lot of people are to handle with a color palette. I can't. So I actually do write down the full code on the side.
I haven't heard of anyone doing that. That's a little insane because usually people just save out swatches. Like you can have a swatch library.
I know, like that should be easy, but it's like I tried it. I can't memorize it by looking at the color. And so I've just learned to just do that. It's not that many colors because I try and minimize the amount of layers.
You can label your swatches, you know.
I might have to do that because it feels silly that I actually do go through that much work for this
He's also using a super old version of Photoshop. I don't know if that's something that only came up in newer versions.
I mean, I can see.
Yeah, like Nolan didn't have them labeled, but like he always kept track of them. So
Well, he's a wizard, so.
Yeah. So that's the whole like color picking thing. So I always have preferences. I always like AC said, I always have the same color for eye whites and teeth all around. As much as Chimera and the rest of the guys talk about that, the eyes. Kaz's eyes are always the same color because I picked the specific color. It's just that lighting affects one eye differently from the other because of the angle that he's on.
Yeah, that page had a filter over half his face.
Yeah, and that's the next thing that kind of the rest of these layers are actually just effects, lighting or little manipulations that I'm trying to do so that we don't stick to just local colors, which like we talked, like the base color of characters.
So AC, was this inspired by Slayers?
This
no,
well, no, because remember, like these were actually little stories that were inspired from little comic book strips that the Wizards of the Coast actually put up in comics. I think it was during the 80s.
Might have been the 80s. I think. Let's just say the 80s.
Yeah, sure. But like, come here. If you Google like old D&D comic book ads, you'll see these old.
They were ads.
Yes, like single page comic adventures of D&D adventures, and then on the corner they would always have like this big space. It was just like, check if you like the adventure. Follow our adventures in the new red box for D&D.
Send us a check with your mailing address, and we will mail you a thing.
Yeah. So like it was that kind of a thing. So Colin also really likes D&D.
Colin is an old school D&D guy.
Yeah, he has the original old books of D&D and AD&D with the crayon and marker coloring that he did on top of the drawings from when he was a little kid.
Right, yeah.
That's pretty epic. Well, you know, Slayers and this are both inspired by D&D, so.
No,
exactly.
And we've been going over that. And I think I talked to you guys. They actually have a D&D system based off of the Slayers anime, but it has its own little base rules, and it's based off of 3.5 D&D. That I was checking out. So there's actually D&D builds for the Slayers characters.
That's pretty cool.
I have been rewatching Slayers. It's been quite a trip. We'll have to talk about it sometime with you, Chimera.
Which series? The first one or Next or Try?
We finished the first one and we're on Next right now.
Next is my favorite.
Yeah.
I heard you say that. So I was like, I'm putting a lot of weight into things. Like, let's see how good this is. Because that's our favorite too.
I mean, Try is also kind of good, but it's not based on any manga, so it's a little weird. There's a lot of filler.
Okay.
Real quick, Eric is asking, what is a swatch? What is a swatch? Whoops.
Remember how like you have painters that like when you see like the stereotypical like French painter cartoon always has like this little white thingy with a bunch of like the little squirts of paint. Like those are his swatches.
His palette.
Yeah. So his palette will have all of his swatches, which are like the individual little colors that he has there, and they will also they try and separate the specific mixes that they do, because like how we talked about the address of each color here digitally, physically you also sometimes like, you have to manually feel it out. Like, I want this creamy yellow that has this amount of black and this amount of brown in it.
So think of it like more like the common person would know if you're like painting your house. You can go to like Home Depot and get a color swatch book of house wall paints. You can, the same thing, there's a digital version in Photoshop. You can save colors into like a swatch collection, a swatch library. Yep, there it is.
So it looks like that.
This is a default one, but you can customize it and input little your own colors in there instead, and that will be like your palette that you're working with.
But that's the thing, is like for me, I need those labels telling me like blush, light 40%, blood 20%. It's like I'm looking at the colors like, I don't remember. I have like 4 different reds, but I don't know what red that was.
Oh gosh. Yeah, color is complicated. Billy Jacobs, you and I are on the same wavelength. I've been doing like house renovations, so it's all I think about now. So yes, continue. Those are swatches and details, and then you do lighting on top, right?
Yeah, so like first thing that I go is just like doing highlights with white, and I don't know, I just came to calling them res because there's a word in Spanish that is resalto, which is like highlights. So yeah.
Oh, okay, so that's your highlight layer.
Mhm.
I do like SH and AL, and like I multiply and overlay for AL, which is the highlights layer. Then I do a glow over it.
Yeah, so like if you guys see, like there's not that much highlights on this page because it has very vibrant colors. But if you guys see on the left side, close to where like that kind of spinny globe is, you can see a little bit of it.
Yeah, I see. So flat colors, shading, details, highlights, and then lighting, like general glowy lighting on top.
Can you explain this thing that actually changes? Like it's not just sticking colors on top of each other. There's the mode, I think, the layer mode.
Oh yeah, but are we gonna teach people Photoshop?
Oh well, I guess not. I guess not.
It's just similar. It's like there's effects. There's different things that you can do digitally too. Like
what are you talking about?
And make them blend in different ways.
What are your favorite ones? Because I know that different artists like to use different modes. What are your favorite modes that you use?
I don't have favorite modes.
Really?
I don't know.
You
know, because here's the thing. Like what I wanted to get at is that on most pages, I'll get to this point where I'm done. Like I'm done with my base colors. I added my shadows. I added my highlights, and then effects through light. And then something that I like to do is like that. The page is pretty much done if I really wanted to, but I like playing with different values of colors. And so what a lot of colors do, and something is like a badge of shame because they don't realize that everybody does it, is that we will oftentimes like flatten.
Badge of shame.
Yeah, like when I went to Heroes, a lot of colors that are not used to talking about their process with others are ashamed to admit that they actually do not have a set plan sometimes for their page. And they just trial and error effects in different kinds of layers.
We mean Heroes Con, by the way. It's the con we usually go to when we're not in a pandemic.
Yeah, so like...
Why is that a badge of shame to not know what you're doing?
It's not.
None of us know what we're doing.
That's what everybody does, but the thing is just that since there's not... for a lot of colorists, you know, we kind of just like... especially now, a lot of us like started like, oh, we learn in DeviantArt and this and like what some of these communities that like have a bunch of tutorials and friends to tell us about, but there's no professional environment to really learn it. When you go to like conventions and you talk to people that work in the industry and like know about values and profiles and how to set all things up, you think that they have a pattern and they know how this shit is done. And so a lot of people get embarrassed and don't want to talk about the fact that they do trial and error. But that's honestly, I think, a sign of a good colorist, that they're always wanting to experiment. There's no set way sometimes. Like sometimes we do, like we figure out, like again, the stuff with Irene's book is very recent because I've been having to work on the colors. But like at the beginning is the slowest because I'm figuring out like how do I make everything work? How do I make colors bleed through these things? But also, how do I get these specific colors that I want? Because now that I'm working these very vibrant ones, like I don't know what effect can really do this in this particular scenario. So I have to trial and error and do a bunch of different things. And then like find it, it's like, oh, I know it. So I will kind of a little bit more automatedly, like I know to apply this on every other page that I want like this. But then every time something different happens, or a page where I have to like add inks because those were more newer pages, the step-by-step process might be different. So there's experimentation. But yeah, so some artists just don't know that that's a good thing, and they want to act like they know more because they don't want to be seen as someone that doesn't know anything, and they want to make those connections with others. And you know, especially colors, they're not the most public figures, even at comic book conventions. So a lot of other novice colorists are even more insecure about it and talking about it.
Yeah, like unless you've been working on the same book for like 10 years, usually there's a lot of experimentation. No, even if you have, because every new scene, every new setting, every new character, you have to play around with the colors until it's just like drawing the designs. Like sometimes you envision it in your head and you draw it and then it changes once it's on the page. So
yeah, like you eventually kind of memorize how some things will affect, or like you already did this exact kind of copy. Like I know how to do it. Most of the time, I'm still experimenting a lot of the time, and so when I get to this point, what I do is I actually make multiple copies of all the layers that I've done so far and flatten them and just call them like flatten A, flatten B, flatten C, flatten D, and I'll make them invisible and then try out with one of them and just try a bunch of weird effects or change the color and then apply an effect on it and see how that will react.
And you compare them to each other?
Yeah, and so I'll see like, so this is, and like obviously you do it with like, it's mad science there, but you're kind of also going like, I know how this should react and I know how this should look, but how would this compare to this other idea that would be kind of similar? And so you test it out. And so that tends to be like my last layers are things that I've done with layer effects and combining a version of this page that is completely monochromatic with blues and purples and yellows. And I think that those would complement these to make them more vibrant. How would that work? And so I put that and that adds some effects. And so there you go. So it's just like, it's like the last bit of tinkering to get the base colors that I specifically want sometimes.
Right. I know we don't want to get too technical into it, but I do want to mention what I do a lot. And again, mostly what I color covers and pinups only, but I like to throw a color balance adjustment layer on top. And a lot of people use the photo filter, but photo filter honestly is not that great because it's very easy to muddy your colors using photo filter. Color balance, with color balance, you can adjust, like throw like a tint over all your shadows or all your midtones or all your highlights selectively, and it's really useful for like unifying your colors if you feel like things are too all over the place. And I like to add purple shadows over everything, add like this little like purple glow to my pages.
You know what? That's actually a good point to add. I forgot to actually bring this up. That's what Irina's referring to. Sometimes we refer to it as constructive effects and destructive effects. So like when Irina was talking about the option that she was veering away from is when you grab one of these layers, which again, think of it like a sheet of paper that has let's say like the sheet of paper underneath has all your colors, and you put a sheet of paper on top of it, like vanilla, butter paper that is see-through, and so you do the line work on top of it. So the ones that we add are the effects. So what Irene says is that she likes being able to grab one of those layers and put a mechanism on it where she can kind of put a lever on it and just play with it at any point to kind of fiddle around and see where she likes it. That's constructive because at any point that can be undone and that can be taken away or manipulated. But destructive edits makes it like you actually go directly to the layer and you apply something to it that changes it. And the computer has to use computing power to actually apply that effect and change it. Like when you're first fooling around with Photoshop, you'll go for like the effects of like liquefy and stuff like that. And you like metallic effect. Like it has its place. You can do some cool stuff with it, but
dodge and burn
selectively.
Yeah, like not by itself, but there's cool ways of actually using it. So like when you start out, that's a very iconic way. But like when you apply that, that's done. Like you did it. That page no longer is what it used to be unless you did not save and open your file again. If you're able, the only way to undo it is like with the undo button. But if you close down and you save your file, now that page has had an effect that is destructive. It destroyed your original information and replaced it with new ones. Irina was referring to ones that you can always just kind of have as a little meter that can manipulate it and be undone at any point.
I always do the layer whenever I'm trying that stuff out.
That's why you have
you can do that too it depends on like how good your computer is or what version of Photoshop you have. Well, the adjustment layers go way back, so it should be fine. But you can duplicate your layers and then add an effect, but then you can't change it because what I'm talking about. Why don't you click into where the adjustment layers are just to show people where they are on the layers panel. I'm sure there's lag. But if you use an adjustment layer, it's essentially a layer that you can't draw on, but it's just like an active slider that will adjust everything underneath that layer. And is, for example, you can change the contrast, or you can adjust, like you can put a color tint on something.
Oh, it's just like
yes?
a layer. Well, I guess it can be a layer. I never use it as a layer.
Yeah, adjustment layers. I use them a lot.
How old is this computer? Because Mac is usually shitty. Just get a Windows.
I forget.
Oh, it's probably like 2012 or something. I think my model that I'm using right now that you guys are watching is like, I think, a 2015 model.
Hi, Kikazu. Yeah, everyone, please back Fiendish so we could get these people new computers.
No, you have to make it a stretch goal.
Oh,
I'm serious.
Thanks, Irene.
Do some more trading cards.
Don't show. You just showed the URL. So
I'll send you an invoice. Give me a new computer. I'll do you more trading cards.
Well, damn, I think the trading cards come first, but
Yeah,
all right, we'll talk about this.
If you guys can see it on Photoshop, this is what Irene was referring to.
There
So like, see how on top of the layer, like the layer sunlight copy, now there's this little one that has a little sun on it. That one is a layer that is being applied to stuff in between, or something that's immediately tied. And then we have this gray screen on top with all these meters, and these ones can like move around the level of lighting, which is what this adjustment layer is.
Let me mess around with it really quick.
Okay.
Maybe I should open one of my files.
Yeah, see, so like I can affect the lighting so it's way darker if you guys can see that on the screen. See, it like darkens it immediately. But I can undo it at any time by just defaulting the slider back to 0 and stuff like that. Or just deleting that layer altogether so that it's not permanent. It's not intrinsically destroying the code that was already there.
I have a question. Now that we know generally how your process usually works, how has it changed since you started working on Fiendish? Because I know that you started with Irene's setup is very different from mine. She starts with like the shadows already built in, and you have to basically build colors underneath them and stuff.
Okay, well, I mean, we've gone over this a lot of times, but
okay. Well, I guess maybe I'm retreading old ground then.
I mean, you could. I was gonna say, do you want to open one of the files and show everyone? But
I do not want to open those files right now.
This stream will literally crash. I'll show everybody my cover for chapter 1 at the colors. It's a totally different, but just to show everyone what adjustment layers can do. But yeah, so we've established that the process you have here is like normal comic coloring, and you're doing something different for my book, but that's irrelevant.
Yeah, so yeah, a lot of it is just like I just do these little things that are effects or additional edits to the colors. But if you guys see, I have like these 3 main folders, which is what my main page is. It's just everything that is the colors, which is what we've been going through. The inks, which is all the blacks. I have a specific process that I learned to do from my teachers and stuff like that. So that like
for like what, backing blacks to
but that's a little
ready.
But that's a little specific. So
yeah,
it's just we have a way to ensure that we have the purest value of black and to avoid bleeding, and that's what that whole folder is for. And then the last one is just effects, which are little things on top that I want to both affect the colors and the inks from above, and I have those. So most of the time they'll be like lighting effects like this, just to get that more psychedelic kind of bright neon green on top of it.
You put that over the inks.
Yes, because the point is just that if you do that on top of the inks, it'll also no matter how pure the blacks that you're getting, it'll still impact the blacks a little bit. And it'll make it so that it looks a little bit more bright. Like it'll make the edges. There's a little difference in the way that we back blacks, in that there is a grayer tone that when combined with the address 000-100 will create a pure color black, but there's a little bit of area that does not completely line up, that is to kind of give it a more organic feel to it. And when you apply lighting effects over that, it'll create a slight variation. Most of the time you can't notice it, but on pages like this where you want really vibrant colors, it'll make it a little bit of a funky feel around it. You don't notice it, but your eyes know it, even if you don't.
Oh my gosh!
And I think that can look really nice because it can further push the colors away from the dark value. So that's why I do those on top of that.
There you go, everyone. There you go. Still want to be a colorist? Everybody watching?
It's fun when you actually get to add your own piece to it, because like I told, like that was the main fear, and that was the main thing that drew me away from even considering coloring at first. It just, especially looking at superhero comics, it just feels like all they want is for you to fill in the lines and stuff, and it can feel kind of cynical and kind of be like you're like the least important part of the work. But I've been lucky to be with a lot of people that understand that I will push back and want to add my own part. It's a collaboration from everybody. So with coloring, it's cool when you get to add your own bits, and even the people that were working on it are surprised, like, oh shit, like I never considered that my inks could actually do that, or how to push my inks properly. Like I know I keep mentioning the guy taught us a lot, like our Professor Nolan. If you guys ever hear about the artist Sean Gurton Murphy, he's very proud about how his blacks are actually really hard to color because he has so many gradients with the diversity of tools that he uses, and so he's kind of annoyingly proud about how much of a headache he is for his colorists. And he will proclaim that when he came to talk to us and stuff. But our Professor Nolan, he's just like, he just kind of like took that as a challenge when he said that. He just like sat down on his computer and like slaved away a few days. And next time that Sean showed up, he's like, no, I figured it out. Here's the code on how to color your fucking colors. You're not special.
Yeah, it was this one time Sean came to our school to do a talk, and they had like this like weird fight. Well, it wasn't a fight, but it's like this weird competition. My inks are too hard to color. No, I colored it. Look.
Yeah. So yeah, he came a few times. So like there was a bit of conversation. So yeah, like it's cool when you feel like you're part of the process, or you're adding something that others did not expect. Like Sean did not expect anybody to be able to figure out how to deal with his blacks, but that's the cool thing to figure it out. It's too dark, Chimera. It's too accurate. You can't see.
There you go.
Oh my! Every time I full screen you, it goes darker.
Yeah, I can't.
Oh, it's because I full screen you and your screen is reflecting. Okay, we can't see shit.
I can't tell. Is that Moon Knight?
Anyways, look up Sean Gordon Murphy's work. He's really good.
Yeah.
Alex VRB is a good colors, greatly enhanced the final result while also respecting original line art. That's true. And I can attest to the fact that Nick does want to add stuff a lot, and I like it most time, but I'm also a control freak, so it's a learning process.
I got more questions. Mainly one question. Okay. I want to ask you about, like, we've talked about like all the technical stuff that you do that goes into coloring, but I want to ask the fun question, which is how do you use color to tell a story, and like how do you like approach telling the story, and like what are some decisions you make that makes you like unique as an artist or something like that?
Well,
that wasn't a fun question. I thought it was a fun question.
No,
we're back to yelling.
The way that I tend to approach art and how to deal with it, and why a lot of people don't like actually getting critique from me, is because I start from the negatives.
You can full screen.
I assume that the positives are implicit and nobody needs to hear about them. Like when we're critiquing, I'm only gonna shit on all the stuff that is not working. So I think I actually approach it that way when I work. And that
yes, very pretty.
When I get a piece of art and I have to work on it with colors, the thing is just that there's so many mechanical pieces that go on there that I kind of know, like I know all these mechanical steps that I have to go. The storytelling for me comes on like what on this page is a shortcoming. What on this page is not coming across, or what needs to be punched up, or is an issue, and how do I fix it with colors?
And so that tends to be where I start off. And so that I see like this is not clear, or this is an inconsistency, or this actually looks ugly and it would look better if I did an effect or drew something over it to cover it up.
Oh my god!
So okay, finish.
No, it's just that it's.
I'm practicing not talking over people, guys. You see, I'm trying so hard.
The first step is just problem solving, and then once problem solving comes up, it's just the issues are fixed, and I did the mechanical work. Everything else kind of comes from just how sometimes I have ideas, and like I think that this would look this way. This would look kind of, but some of this, because since you're kind of like the last one on the assembly line, so many of these things have kind of already been ironed, not ironed out, cut into stone per se, that it's a little bit hard to find more leeway.
There's a collaborative artistic vision that's been mostly completed before it gets to you, is what you're saying, right? So
and like sometimes you
have the least input to give, I guess.
Sometimes it depends on the page, but like the thing is just that most of the things are kind of already decided by that point, and so sometimes it is that problem solving. Like, and again, like what was it? I remember there was a book called Welcome Back, where we were in this scene that was supposed to be like really sad, and this character just kind of moves around. And they get to the point where they have to go on this bus, but they actually end up covering a very short distance to get home, and it's still supposed to be like a sad mood scene. And to me, I didn't talk this over with my team. It just, I'm on a deadline. I get it. I'm working. I need to get it done by this day. I don't have time to talk to you about the color of the underwear character. I got there, and I was just like, when I read this page, I don't feel sad. I wonder, why the hell does this kid that doesn't have money, which is another issue and another part of the comic, waste money going on a bus for a short distance? There's no reason for it. And so like for that, I was like, I feel like it would enhance the storytelling if it was raining, and nothing in the script contradicts it, and it's nighttime. So I was like, I just added the effects and actually had like changed like one of the characters that was in the background to have like an umbrella.
Yeah, you can't do that with every inker. Some people will flip out.
Yeah, I know. So I was like, that. I went back, like I did. The thing is, like, I did it, and then after I did it, I talked to my team because I could undo it and I had it layered. I was like, this doesn't make sense, and it disrupts the mood. And so I thought like this enhances it, and it adds more visual interest, and it keeps the mood going, and it explains why the hell she would waste money going on a bus right now. So stuff like that. It's problem solving where it first comes. Otherwise, it's just like ideas that I have from the beginning. But like with you, I tend to work like you're working like right next to me, so I see exactly what you're doing, and it tells like, oh no, like you should maybe do this here, or leave that. No, don't add shadows. Leave that open. Leave that to my colors. I can definitely push this open a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. So Ari, you wanted to say something a while back.
Oh no! See, everybody, I am practicing letting people talk on my show. I'm being so good. What I did want to say was, besides from taking the approach of the colorist is here to fix everybody else's fuck ups, which kind of is true, but you should never leave fuck ups for the colorist because a lot of people do that too, and that's a dick move. We should also point out basic good coloring for comics, because what we've covered right now, we've used this one page, which is a self-contained one-pager story as an example, and we haven't really talked about the difference between coloring like a pin-up versus coloring a sequential page in a book. And just like, if you remember those, I'm sure everybody here is interested in art and knows about animation, and you probably have seen those, like for Pixar movies and animated movies, they have those color boards before they start modeling everything and doing like the final compositing, like the color language for the entire story. Like Disney does this as well, and well, you're supposed to do that for all movies actually. So you should do the same thing for comics, and that's another thing that a colorist for comics specifically needs to think about is what color scheme each scene has, and what color language does does that make the reader feel? For example, like Nick was talking to me about how he's coloring Fiendish, and for the beginning scenes, he used a lot of greens because it's at night, but it also is supposed to feel unsettling and it's supposed to feel dark, and greens work really well with that, but it's also out in nature. So it's but then for the next scene in the daytime, it has a different color language. And then when we get into the fight scene, that's a different color palette. And each location, it should be like a subconscious thing and that's something that no matter how good your inker is, and no matter how good like the artist is, or like what I do, like I can't, like you can make your staging very clear. So like the reader isn't lost, and you can like do all these things like don't break 180, make sure, that your scenes flow and you're lettering everything that flows. But something that only the colorist can do is have a set color for every location. So immediately, like when a reader looks at a page, they know this is a new location, or they know this is that same room that was from 10 pages ago. And they subconsciously know that, not just because, the setting and the room looks the same, the items there look the same, but because the colors are the same. So that's another thing to think about.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll actually notice it. Like a good place to kind of notice for how much a different artist's style or understanding of the story or color palette in general really can change a comic entirely. Is like if you go for like old X-Men omnibuses or stuff like that, a lot of those, I think it's that you go for the the Ultimate Universe was the side one that like the movies are based on, right? That was where it's called, like Ultimate Universe.
Oh, that's the one that Miles Morales comes from.
Yeah, so it's like that was Ultimate Spider-Man. So it's, it's the Ultimate Universe. I forget because I know that they also killed that universe now. So it's like,
I don't know.
So I was like, if you go for some of the old Ultimate Universe omnibuses from like the older ones, not the ones. I think everything prior to Miles Morales is to me like what old Ultimate is.
When was that? Was that like late 90s or early 2000s?
I forget because I get reprints, so I don't even know what the
I think it was
that
early.
is.
I want to say it was early 2000s. I think Miles Morales came out in around 2009-ish or something.
2014.
14? Oh, okay.
Wow. It was pretty recent.
Omnibuses for Ultimate like X-Men and stuff. You'll see that there's oftentimes, because they had some tight deadlines in there, they will actually have different inkers and colorists for some of the fill-in issues in between, even though the rest of the book is
it's 2011.
And so you can see that some of those books, they just feel completely different, because those are books that they really wanted to set. They were prioritizing mood, because they wanted to kind of make it like, oh, this is before the cinematic universe was the thing. They were like, this is how we really this is doing the story of these characters right. Like, what if they were like a movie? And so like a lot of the characters are envisioned after certain actors that they actually imagine them being.
Oh yeah.
So like they really focused on mood on some of those, but they couldn't help that like there's deadlines are hard. There's sometimes fill-in issues, like me with Fiendish right now. Like I slack behind because like it was hard to figure some of these things, and now I'm like kind of trying to catch up. So you'll see those in like the color palette. They kind of understand what the story is about. They want to portray the same mood, but they have different sensibilities. And so the colors are jarringly different. It's like the jump is weird. And so they'll have really plastic rendering, like typical Marvel. Well, they were going like really moody, like concept art, realistic on some of the other pages.
Plastic rendering, you mean like just really shiny, like highlights?
Yeah, like hard cuts and really high saturation colors.
Kind of
like
gives a texture of things looking kind of plasticky with how they do highlights and shadows.
Yeah, just like early 2000s, like Spider-Man or Superman comics, you'll see like what I mean, like very plasticky rendering.
Oh yeah, because it just discovered Photoshop.
Yeah, like it was not that it was sometimes like discovered, because like when Image came out, like everybody was going like, oh shit, like they're selling, like hotcakes. But like sometimes they're like it's more about like the delivery. It shows like no, we also have the technology. They'll go heavy-handed on the digital color just to show off that they also have the technology to make that. Like it doesn't look the best, but it's sold, which is kind of weird. And so like some of those early 2000s, even the cover, they have weird effects on the sides. They're really ugly. They eat up the good picture in the middle.
Oh man, I just remember it was around the turn of the millennium that it's like Photoshop was just coming out and everybody discovered the dodge and burn tools.
It can look good. It can look good on some
yeah.
No, these are
some
pretty.
styles, yeah.
After about 5 years of being in Hell on Earth, things started looking good. It was pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
When people imitate things without understanding why it's being applied that way, it also creates that issue. It's not just lack of understanding of the tool, but also of the message or medium that you're working with.
Yeah.
Because again, like the tools are there for a reason, and even a very gaudish, like heavy-handed way of using the tool can look great if you know why you're doing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. Just you have to keep a palette. That's why I have my little cheat sheet of all these colors that I use for specifically the book. And so like not even just the effects like Irene was mentioning in FIENDISH, but I'll use very specific color palettes that I would never use in another book, and vice versa, because it just doesn't fit the tone.
That's true. That's true. Alistair says it's Taiwan Week. You just got an email from Wee Grocery. What is Wee Grocery? Well, it was Taiwan. Taiwan's National Day was October 10th, 10/10. That's Taiwan's, I guess, Independence Day, National Day. So that's why it's Taiwan Week, I guess. Yay, Taiwan, Taiwan.
Oh, okay.
Yay! Now everybody knows. Let's see.
Taiwan number one.
Taiwan number one.
What version of Photoshop are you working with?
Yeah, what version of Photoshop? Somebody is asking if you're literally using it. It's not Photoshop 5.5. Is this even CS? Everybody back Fiendish, please.
No. Wait.
It's what?
Is it still?
I don't know. Like while I'm screen sharing,
CS5. CS5 extended.
It is actually CS. It's not. Honestly, it's not that bad. I started using before CS. Well, I started playing with Photoshop in like high school. But let me show everybody real quick. I have a cool way of showing what we were just talking about. So there you go. These are some of the colors for FIENDISH that Nick did. And if you can see, you just zoom back. These are just the thumbnails. You can tell where one scene ends and another scene starts. Even though it's all out in nature. Like, see the first few pages, that's like the nighttime scenes. And not just because it's darker, because, you know, look at page 10 is also pretty dark because they have the sun is rising and like the city is in the foreground of, let me highlight the page I'm talking about right here. But the color palette is different. It's more a bluish green in the first few pages, but everything has sort of a green orange tone to it. And when that starts to get broken up later in these last few pages as the caravan characters come in, and that's sort of also ramping up to the monster attack. And then the colors start getting more drastic after that, which I will just say it does because I don't want to spoil the colors. That's only for people who buy the book. But here is a great example of how you can use colors to enhance the storytelling. And this is something that you should, it's just like those color boards for, you know, Pixar animations that I mentioned before. Set the color language for the entire story, zoom out, and have a palette for every scene. There you go.
Oh, it's a shame you can't go into detail about it. I'd love to hear like Nick just talking about his thought process on.
You can. Yeah, you can. That would be cool. But you know, Nick's computer would die if he has to share.
Oh no! I thought that you were saying that you straight up don't want to show those.
No. I don't want to show the pages after this.
Yeah.
Because, yeah. If you want to talk about these pages, you can. But I don't know if do you want to?
Like I'm telling you what to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, I can just show these off. These are the only ones I'm going to show besides from the Ragnar shots. Yeah, I'm like itching to show some of the other finished colors.
Show page 18. I want to see his eyes.
Why? Why do you keep on wanting to look at? That's not fixed yet.
Oh.
It's just there's tint, like the foreground is cooler, then Isco is being pushed back with a warmer tint, and like half of Kaz's face has a warmer tint on it, and it has like a filter. That's why his eyes look like it's different colors. It's not because the flats underneath are different colors, but that's something that we can adjust later on. No, there won't be spoilers. This is all on the preview pages on the website.
Yeah,
by
there's
the way.
not showing anything new. And like honestly, even the Ragnar pages, when I had to like not come over, I actually like was trying to hurry to do the edits for those. I was like, oh, I mean, here are all the last pages with Ragnar, and then I was like, oh, you just show like little previews of like 2 of them. Like,
yeah,
well,
even that.
I guess I didn't have to rush and get all that ready.
I mean, I appreciate it. They look great, but I can't. The people paying for the book need to get their money's worth. Yeah. I mean, the page of her actually casting is spelled out, or that one panel. I showed the inks for that, so I was like, and the colors on that one look real, like that looked really great. So, you know, I was glad I was able to show that anyhow.
Yeah.
So yeah, no spoilers, Alex VRB. We're just showing what has already been shown.
You drew Detonator. You did all the sequential art for that, Nick.
Yeah. I originally was actually, doing cover, line work, and coloring, but that was being way too much for me, and yeah, I just was like, yeah, dude, like I'll do the covers and I'll do the inks, but
So you
doing
said
the full book is just being too much work for me. So I just rather to put it out on time. We might as well just find somebody else. And we know a bunch of artists, so I suggested my friend Douglas to do the coloring after issue 1.
Oh, so where'd you learn how to do? Like you said, you didn't grow up with comics much. Where'd you learn how to do sequentials?
Oh, well.
And don't say college.
Yeah. Well, like I said, like I didn't grow up much with comics. We mostly had like comic strips and the occasional comic. But the thing is just that comics are not cheap for us, even though the majority are reprints. So it's a bit of an expensive even to get a little floppy. And on top of that, like we've talked about it, that the people here are so protective that like there's certain things that you just are like kind of like, oh, I thought this was a guarantee. Like, for example, Wi-Fi here. Nobody here has open Wi-Fi. If you want to go to a business and get the Wi-Fi, you have to buy something and then talk to the waiter and ask them to give you a code to go and use the Wi-Fi. It's like, they're not losing anything. They don't want squatters. They don't like that. Even Starbucks does that here. And I talk to people that is like, about it, and they're like, yeah, but we really want to push the idea that you can sit here for a while, but you still have to buy something. It's like that defeats the whole point of anyway. So
yeah, they don't want you to sit there.
So like same thing with comics. All comics here are covered in plastic, and you have to rip it to read something. Otherwise, you're completely relying on covers, which is really hard things. Again, growing up here, because like most of the comics that you'll see are like Spawn, which all the covers are edgy shit, and 90% of the time they don't even reflect what happens inside.
Right.
So.
Maybe Human wants to know, where's Nick from? North Korea?
Yeah.
Colombia.
No.
Everyone, we're talking about Colombia.
Yeah. Colombia, Latin America. And so, so like it was kind of hard with comics. Like I told you guys, I had like 2 comics. One that I bought on a whim, and I couldn't even read it. And the second one is because we went on a trip to the U.S. and like right as we were being called for our plane flight, there was this comic shop. And I was like, wait, those are not covered in plastics, and those are not, like floppy issues. It's a volume of a story that is complete. And I'm not grabbing like issue 24 out of a series. And I was just like, I guess these are people that know each other. And so I asked my parents for some money, and while they were doing the line to go into the flight, I was just trying to buy this. And that was a 0-hour omnibus. Yeah. So like,
wow.
and I think it was a weird coincidence to have grabbed that because being young and not having been very much exposed to North American comic books, that was if anybody knows 0 Hour, that is the big like world-changing event in DC, the yearly thing that happens. But like that was the big event at the time where the first Green Lantern guy turned evil because his whole town was destroyed, and he was like, I can only use my powers for like the good of others. Like I lost everybody I loved. I will fucking redo this whole town with my powers. And everybody's like, no, you can't do that. And then he just killed everyone. So in that one, so like that whole thing was happening. The replacement Green Lantern is this like spry young artist, and he likes anime. And so his power, he likes manga and anime. And so like his Green Lantern powers are not just like spring-loaded gloves and like anvils and stuff. He actually like uses his not only does his outfit look more modern, and I thought it looked really cool. I actually have an action figure of him because I like him so much. But like he would be like, oh no, like I'm not gonna do a spring-loaded fist. I'm gonna do a macros mech suit on myself and fight, and then I got a beam katana on my arm while you're playing around with like anvils and wacky Looney Tunes stuff. And so it really connected with my aesthetic, and it was. I liked the art style as well. I was really happy that we actually found the artist that did 0 Hour when we went to Heroes once. He was out of issues, and like mine was so old that it was just I had fallen to pieces years ago. But I got a cool pin up.
Yeah, we haven't been able to hang it up yet because we have to. Oh god, I switched dust.
Yeah, but yeah, we got this pin up of Parallax, which is the evil version of the Green Lantern by him.
Thank you, Blinko, for continuing to post Cullen's link. Oh, cool! Look at that. Let me full screen that.
Oh, Hal Jordan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like,
that's a nice friend.
Because I didn't like Hal Jordan, so I know him as Parallax when he was evil. Because I thought that he became an interesting character then to me.
Who's this?
Yeah, I also didn't give a shit about the Green Lanterns or the Lantern Corps until I read Red Lanterns.
I also got back into it when they started adding the new colors and stuff like Blackest Night. That was fun. That was a cool little mix up that they did, and felt very anime. Like all the colors have their own theming, and they have their like super animal, and they have their values. Like really very anime.
That does sound really anime.
Well, Shane Davis did Final Crisis, where the Red Lantern showed up, and Dax stars like this little cat, and then he just.
Oh god!
It did. Oh, I didn't know that.
Because like the point with the rings is that the different colors will seek you out if you are a very strong representative of that emotion. And this cat got like abandoned and had like the shittiest life. So while most like typical North American comic book fashion, the chosen hero of our whole quadrant is always a human. But like for the Red Lanterns, it's a mangy ass cat that is just so fucking angry that's like, oh, you represent rage to the fullest extent.
Well, I mean, Ethan Van Sciver made Atrocitus with Jeff Johns. That's my favorite Red Lantern.
It's really cool, and you know what? I like that they also released the concept art for all of the cool aliens that they have for those, because they usually don't do that because there's not that much thought into putting them to a lot of the aliens, so they just kind of do them. But for the whole, since that whole like Blackest Night and stuff, it was such a big change up. They had a lot of concept art, and some of that was really detailed. I really liked it. So yeah, that's how those were the first North American comics that I got interested in. But I didn't really read much beyond that. And then it was just manga and anime that kind of caught on to me, because that was what I was being exposed to, the equivalent to what you guys got for, what is the Cartoon Network thing with the robot? Toonami. Like the equivalent to you guys as Toonami for us in Latin America was a channel called Locomotion, and it was all anime, and it went for like really edgy stuff in the very like just generic shonen. So it had a big sampling platter for people to try out.
Yeah, we had Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh on Warner Brothers, I think, when I was a kid, but that's like basic bitch stuff.
No, for us it wasn't, because like only kids with like very expensive satellite plans could get Warner Bros. So like nobody here knew it except for the rich kids.
Oh my gosh. We're all from such different worlds, because I didn't even know American comics were still being printed until I was like 18.
I mean, to be fair, most Americans probably think American comics probably aren't being made now.
So
yeah, probably.
It was manga really is what kind of got me.
Manga saving the world, man.
Yeah, Hellsing was.
Weebs unite.
Yeah, Hellsing was the manga I read. I found it at Barnes and Noble when I was supposed to be studying, and I'm like, holy shit.
I'm whenever we went out, well, we were, when I was in college and for the little bit after that, when we were living in the US, I was so angry at AC, because whenever we would go to like a comic shop and like hang out there, I was like, I cannot believe that there's a whole place full of comics that I can just check out and actually look at what is good and what is bad, and like buy and like stay there and like have a drink and like read like whole books and pick whatever I want, and you want to just stay there for like a few minutes and go because you're tired.
You say sit down and have a drink, but that was why I didn't want to stay there, is because the places we went deliberately did not have anywhere to sit. Yeah, that was annoying.
Alex BRB is asking which are the best instant noodles. Shanfeng, that's the only brand I know. Hold on. Let me show you my favorite like Taiwanese frozen food. And my Kroger's carries it. Continue talking. Let me go to my freezer.
We're talking about manga. Stop with it.
I read that completely into it. I was like, no, noodles. But
no,
anyway,
we're not talking about manga. No. So anyway, yeah, I discovered.
So manga and anime, and like again, like those bookstores, huge, man. Like we don't have that. I know I've bitched about it a few times here on the stream, but like we had a tiny cubby in like a bookstore, and it was always at the floor level. So if you want to check out what manga or comics they have, you have to like bend over like a fucking dog. And like a dog. Seriously, it's like everybody else is kind of like, oh, we're so cultured looking at all these books. Let me browse through them. Like, no, we have to like get those plastified ones so that we have to waste money to check them out. Or if we want to make sure that our money is worth something, hide from the people working there and just slowly rip out the plastic in secret and hide it somewhere. And also just bend over, and your back will hurt because it's so low to the ground. It's like below your knees to get to the comics, and again, and most of them are shitty reprints. Back quality that even like damages the image, which is another reason why it was better to go manga, because the color reprints were really bad a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's so sad that that's all you got.
That did not work with the digital coloring. So manga was easier, cheaper, and even if it wasn't Chinese or Japanese, because they just sometimes got ones that weren't even translated. I was like, I mean, I like the pictures.
Wait, they would sell manga that wasn't even translated to Spanish?
Yeah, because
legit?
In Latin America, there are reprints for things. That is what they get the rights to. Or sometimes the library just buy excess bulk from other places. And sometimes it would just be just like things that didn't sell over in Japan or in the US, and we just
weird.
I mean, nobody wanted these, but like I like them. They're cheap enough, I guess, and like I can kind of trace these colors. I like them.
Wow, that is really.
I honestly didn't even know when I was like 15 when I discovered Hellsing. I didn't even know what manga was. I was wondering where anime came from, and it's based off manga. What the hell?
I was the other way around, because in Taiwan, I wouldn't get American comics, but on TV we would have stuff like Gargoyles, and we got Sabrina and the Teenage Witch as well, and Recess, and I wouldn't know the difference between that and the anime shows I was watching. It was all just animation, and it's
later. When we come in contact with weeb culture, like I understood what anime was. When we actually when I went to DeviantArt and I started hanging out with, again, I was shocked. People that like comics and anime and like talking about it. Like I was logged on DeviantArt, every time that I was not at school, I was just logged on there because it was like a window into a world where I can talk about this and not act like I give a shit about thick asses and cars.
Speaking of thick asses.
Wait, is that what they do in Colombia? They concentrate on thick asses. I think I found my people.
I think that's. I mean, it's just
Okay.
for like
I could probably
Latin
pass Colombian.
American fashion. Just does really emphasize talking about like hips and butts. So like, it's actually kind of hard if you're a woman in Latin America. It's kind of hard to find some not tight pants, which can be because like you'll go into like nice places, they're all really tight pants.
Yeah, that was an unpleasant experience. I just kind of found like a pair of pants or two of yours that actually fit me, and I just kind of took them for myself.
Yeah.
Oh my god, what a problem to have. Listen, in Asia, again, we come from like day and night different worlds. In Asia, like nothing. Okay, I'm like huge for an Asian girl. Okay, it's a little better now. I think because Asians are putting on weight because people are getting richer. But like listen, I'm XL in Taiwan. I'm XL, me, and I had the hardest time finding pants that fit me. And it's like anything that wasn't just a stick is like I had to get my pants custom. I remember like hitting puberty, and then like I would buy jeans, and then I would have to have them custom altered to actually fit me because then I couldn't wear them.
Oh, that must really hurt your self-esteem when you're like going through school and stuff.
Tell me about it.
Well, she's like 5'7". She's
high
taller
school
than,
was great.
But she was tall. But how are you bullied? I mean, you're taller than everybody, so you're like.
But
5'8".
for girls, it doesn't matter. It's all about, oh my god, look, she's so fat. Oh my god, she's so huge. Like girls are terrible. Like teenage girls are the worst creatures on the planet.
Well, I mean, Asian women are like sticks. Like they're like, I don't know, they weigh like 90 pounds.
No, like there were tall girls that I grew up with that were my height, but they were all like way skinnier because I'm half Jewish. So like I'm not a stick. It was horrible.
Can we just appreciate
arrogant apparitions comment?
Thank you.
That is
more XL.
I commend you, arrogant apparition. That is a high grade simpery. That's pretty good.
That's not that simpy. That's a good one. That's a good one.
It's not an insult. That was high grade simpery because it was well thought out and it was funny. Good for you. Most of the time, these comments are too sweaty with drool to really be funny. Like that was great. I love that. That was really funny.
That's a good one.
Well, just wait until the channel gets monetized, and the super chats will be coming in.
Oh yes, please, everybody, help me get monetized. I don't know how. I need watch hours. Watch my shows, please.
You can just do small drawing.
No, I just stood up.
But yeah. Like I again, like it sounds like a hard thing to deal with, like women's fashion. Like
pockets.
I was gonna say like Ariel on like the sizes. I cannot believe you guys can actually live with pants that don't have pockets.
The fake pockets.
Because like I less so now. I live in my house more than anything. But like when I went out, I was constantly carrying my sketchbook and stuff. My pockets were literally stacked full of markers and pencils and stuff because I would always just sit down and just work on pieces. Like I would hate it if I did not have pockets. That sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
No, they're like terrorizing.
You're wearing your pants.
They want to terrorize women into buying purses and.
No, yeah. Like everybody knows that. Like, those things suck too. They shackle your arms so you can't do anything with it, and they're so clunky and big and annoying.
Well, I wear backpack purses, so.
Yeah, like for
little backpack.
I always talk to you guys about these ones, but like this is normal here in Colombia. This is a traditional like bag called a mochila raca. So like,
oh, that's huge. Is that for harvesting wheat?
No, it's for collecting cocaine. It's Colombia.
I don't know. It's weaved. It's a traditional.
Should I kick Chimera or not?
Or like, like traditionally people going up the mountains would carry those, or coffee plantations would constantly have that.
Nick, did you hear my terrible joke when you were?
Oh no, I missed it. What's up?
Oh, I said, is that for?
He's being racist.
No, I'm not. It's Colombia. Is that first for collecting cocaine?
No, it's for collecting coffee, which is the other thing. That,
there you go.
Ignorant gringos would probably tie with us.
No, they only know about the cocaine. They don't know that you guys have excellent coffee.
I don't know.
Well,
You know what?
I watched that show Narco.
As a little
There you
kid, since I took for granted that any reference would always be that haha cocaine, I was actually really excited as a little kid when Dexter's Lab, the only mention of Colombia was them talking about how good the coffee was, and it was like they just like the mother just pulls out this can of coffee. Oh yes,
You had
fresh
cartoon.
Colombian coffee, just like this tiny little Colombian man comes out of the coffee can and serves them their coffee. It was like
You had Cartoon
your
Network.
coffee's always the best. I was like, did they just say something good about my country?
Oh.
Wait.
Oh.
You had Cartoon Network.
Yeah, we had Cartoon Network. It's just
Okay.
that different countries actually have different team handling it. So our Toonami was very different from you guys's.
We had Cartoon Network too, but it was tailored. It was weird. We would get some anime on it, but it was like Taiwanese Cartoon Network. Of course, everything was dubbed into Chinese.
Yeah. So you actually just see completely different shows on even if it's the same station in different countries.
Mhm.
Might I recommend you do small drawing videos to help you get monetized because you need hours.
I probably should, or before that, I will also do some more drawing videos. But yeah, give me some watch hours, everybody. Hit like and subscribe because I want to get monetized so I can do a $5 to kick Chimera every stream.
Yeah, we need Pale Rider. We need Pale Rider to super chat a bunch.
Yeah, I don't know. We're missing him today. It feels lonely, but yeah, help me get monetized so I can fix the problem. the problem.
Oh, okay. Point to colorist. Okay.
No. Everybody knows it's not him. I don't need to clarify that.
Okay.
No. Wow, everybody. So how did we get here? We're talking about women's fashion. Yeah. So speaking of butts and
So what size is
women's?
XL?
I mean, in Taiwan, she would be. I swear, it's so difficult. Like, oh my God, nobody has a butt there. I don't understand.
That's my issue.
Okay. Anyhow,
I think that is a widely known concern that we've seen for Japanese media.
It's really fun. They have like, so you know how like when all women have like boob stuffers and like push-up bras. In Asia, I've never seen this in the West. They have butt stuffers, and it's like really cut. They have like panties with like padded butts.
Makes sense.
It's yeah.
Like, despite that being a very difficult image to achieve, like that is not an unusual kink to be catered to in anime. Like just look at Keijo.
Yeah, Japan is much more focused on boobs, it seems usually, but it's not. Like you said, Keijo. It's not. That's not all. And I'm not being mean, guys. I'm just stating facts. Seriously, this is where I grew up. I'm stating facts.
Yeah, it's just funny. It's like
nobody has a butt.
It's like those curious, like weird products that you see. That is like, man, those weird Japanese products that people buy. Because like aside from the culture, there'll just be different things that ad companies just manage to like actually like sink their claws into. Because like like there's a bunch of things for like fashion and like other things that they're never an issue, but it's just like they make deliberate campaigns to really instill shame in you or like make you think that this is normal. And I had never seen that. It was always just like, oh, in retrospective, I'm sure that this happened. But the only one that I actually saw happening in like real time, and when they tried and like failed miserably, is that when we were in the U.S., they started to throw a campaign to make women feel embarrassed about their elbows, and they're like,
"What?
Do you always feel like everybody is just looking at your elbows, and they're just so gross and wrinkly? Here's a special cream to make you have the best elbows." I was like, This can't be like, who's gonna fall for this? But then you think like they fell for so many other things that they just instilled shame for. This is not out of the ordinary. It's just a matter of like, will people fall for it? Thankfully they did it, and that was just a failed campaign. But like that's constantly what's happening. And so there's a bunch of weird products in Japan for things that like
did not manage to latch on to US, but some did
Right,
over
I
there and
remember
vice
hearing
versa.
like some things like these little like clear stickers that you help to like shape your eyes and stuff like that. Like,
oh yeah, that's really because people like a lot of people have monolids, which means when you don't actually see an eyelid fold, and that's like the stereotypical Asian eye, but that's considered not. People, there's been kind of a movement to like for people to not see that as unattractive, but it has been for a long time seen that that's unattractive and people want to have like a double eyelid. So you have tape, like a little strip of tape that you can tape your eyes and have a double eyelid, and it's supposed to make your eye look bigger. I don't think it does. It doesn't actually make your eye look bigger. It just gives you an eyelid fold, and people like that. Or you just get surgery. It's like the most common surgery is a double eyelid surgery.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter. Like, it could be doing nothing, but as long as they make you feel bad about yourself, you will keep buying it. So that's all that matters.
I mean, I heard about something that go like under the eye to like.
No, but people do like there's like little eye. It's not like eye bags. It's like little fatty things under the eye, like when you smile, and they think that's cute. So people will get injections there.
Yeah,
I don't know. Asia is weird.
Like, Kamir, like you're wincing at the thing like under the eye. It's like it's actually not uncommon, but like, apparently a bunch of Japanese people that come from more rural areas that want to move over to the city know that they will have discrimination applied to them because genetically they will have lower stature, and so they will be treated as less likely to get jobs. So sometimes it's actually a common surgery where they actually break parts of your leg.
Yeah.
And they
freaking Gattaca.
Yeah, and they put these metallic pincers on the side to force your bone to regrow that distance so that you can have longer legs and go to the city and have better chance of getting jobs.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah. I mean, I support everybody doing what the fuck they want with their body, but I think we should all be able to be happy with what
your body. That's horrible torture that you have to go through.
Yeah.
Just to get better chances of employment.
I heard that's a little much for even like getting into certain colleges.
I don't know about that. But
well, I will say, like, as much as we complain about, there's so much, like, I think there is such a thing as too much body positivity, but I like that in the West there is so much more support for you should be happy with like how you look, and like beauty is a broad spectrum, because coming from Asia there is a very rigid sense of what is beautiful, and society is very superficial there. Yeah, and it's very, very superficial, like everywhere in Asia, and it's honestly would be shocking to an outsider.
But there will always be that. The thing is, just whenever you create a spectrum, there will be people on the fringes of that. So,
yeah, and it's just because it's more diverse here too.
Then people like this whole thing where like I know that most people that touch on the issue are just like calling people fat because they want to be like superior and be assholes, be like I'm only stating factual information. But then there will be people that are like, this is my healthiest self. Like, what? Like, you're a fucking whale. Like, I'm glad that you're happy. Like, you can't lie and say that this is healthy. This is self-destructive at best.
There are extremes on either side of this.
And they complain body positivity with like bogus science that this is healthy. It's like, yeah, there's a line in there where you just start distorting facts. There's a difference between being happy with your body and others just like talking bullshit and promoting that shit to people that don't know better.
Yeah, working out is good. Everybody, go for a jog, eat a salad. It's good. Sumathori, hi. Thanks for joining us. And I mean, I will leave that to your own interpretation. Just saying, being a teenager was hard. No, I was considered fat. It was not like in a positive way.
Yeah, but it's like Asia, they're all 90 pounds. So
high school was rough. That's why I stayed indoors and drew all the time. That's why I'm here right now.
That's what makes me think about, like, I remember having I talked to this girl that was from Japan over in DeviantArt a while back, who's also a comic book artist, and she was the one that actually explained to me that she actually had a really hard time being able to
use kimonos, because apparently I didn't know this, because I mostly know about kimonos from like anime and stuff. I'm like, oh cool, like all these girls look really pretty and with these cool patterns, and they can all wear them in their different ways with their personality. But apparently that's not proper. The point of like the kimono is supposed to wear the more uniform and the more slick your body is to fit with it, to showcase the print, the better. And so like having like big boots is bad, and it's bad. And so like
I've worn one. You actually put a board. They put a board under it and like strap everything in.
Yeah, Japanese women often have to like hide or like wear like, what do you call those like those things that sometimes people wear because they're kinky, the corsets, yeah, the corsets to just like restrain their bodies, because it's not just like not pretty or proper, but it's just like what is that, missing the word, but like not polite to have that kind of
uncouth.
It's so weird. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Well, what about in China? They did the bound feet or whatever the hell.
Oh yeah, that's a whole extreme.
Oh, that's a whole different kind of fucked up.
Yeah,
it's a whole different level of it. It's hard to have that level of fucked up.
Yeah,
I don't know what those people were
thinking. That's also just super weird, like weird, functional. I quotation marks idealized bodies. What was so weird?
Well,
blame the Manchurians.
Well, it's China. What do you expect? I mean,
well, it was the Manchurians, so they fucked everything up. Yeah, I do blame the Manchurians. They were in charge of last dynasty, where everything went downhill and everything failed, and they also took over when they brought in bound feet and all that weird shit, and they had the worst fashion. The worst fashion. I hate Qing Dynasty fashion. Anyways, yeah, that was well. The idea behind bound feet was, you know what the idea was? It was not just that, women have smaller feet and it's erotic for their feet to be as small as possible. It was like the higher class the one woman was, and if her feet were bound, she obviously couldn't work. So it signified being high class, because like daughters of like farmers on a lower class, well, you need your children to work, and even girls would have to work on the farm, so you can't bound your feet. But even some poor people would bound their daughters' feet and sacrifice their ability to help them do like housework and farm work in hopes of like marrying them off into a higher class family. And it was also a really weird thing. It's like I sometimes see this with like how, super high heels, and like I like a little bit of heel, but like how in modern times we have this idea of like, for some reason, like 6 or 7 inch heels look good, and they don't look good to me. I don't understand, because if you wear them, it's really inconvenient. You feel like you're falling on your face the whole time, but it's almost like you can't walk properly, but it's almost this weird attractiveness in like being halfway handicapped. And that was the concept behind bound feet. It's like women would have to walk in like these tiny little steps, and that was considered attractive, because it's like she's good for nothing except looking good.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
We live in a very free modern world, everybody.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how like fashion trends like that, like high heels, just like evolved without their original purpose. Because like the whole deal was just like help you walk through dirty streets so that you wouldn't actually have horse shit all between your toes. But like somehow that's stuck, and now that we don't have the horse shit issue, we just decide to still walk around with, like, again, like Iris, like half crippled, and like something that won't let us run or be less versatile, just because people used to do it to not step on poo.
That's sad. Yeah, Mark Senga, they do. They had to break the bones. So when a girl was, I don't want to, this is kind of sad bringing the stream down. You guys can look up how they did it on your own, but it was sad. Yeah. I'm glad we live in the modern world.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, maybe human. Ancient people were fucked up.
Oh yeah, maybe we should have warned this ahead of time to like, don't Google this.
Yeah, don't Google it. Don't, because it's not nice, and I don't.
Ancient? I didn't think it was that long ago.
It's not. It's not actually. No, it's not ancient. It's like 100 years ago. There are people that are still alive who have bound feet. So again, I blame the Manchurians.
Alrighty. Way to end the stream.
So, on that note, Fiendish does not have any of that. You should backyard comics for full-bodied natural women who are very thick and at ease with their bodies. There you go.
Yeah. So tell that to the divs.
What?
Yeah, tell that to the divs.
Hey, no spoilers. No spoilers. I probably should have got it. Yeah, we need to end the stream before we talk about feet too much. The chat's going a little crazy. Everybody, control yourselves. So yeah, thank you very much for coming on and talking to us about coloring, Nick. I originally had somebody else for that I thought would be on for this week, but they'll probably, I'll try to book them for some other time. Something came up, and I'm glad you could finally do the show that apparently you don't remember I told you I wanted to do, but I've been wanting to bring you on and talk about coloring. So, and I got to show off the colors for Fiendish.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Not as much as I sent over to show, but yeah.
He's so salty. I can't spoil things. Okay, hold on.
That's right. Things are you literally can't.
I don't want to. This is. Oh my gosh! The people who back the book need to. Okay. Anyways,
I was just glad that it was being able to like at least be shown. But yeah, because like people were asking about it before, so just to let them know, like it is moving along. Yeah, those are some flashy pages, and which is why I wanted to show those off a bit.
Yeah, well, that's for anybody who gets the colored version, they get some really good colored pages in there.
And once again, this is the link for backing Fiendish is in the description, and this will be up for until I start shipping. So I'm thinking about another month, so November. So back it now. Back it now, friends. Oh yeah. See. Do I have any other updates? No, not really. I have. What do you say?
No. Ariel, as always, is trying to be my publicist and just like checking if there's anything about color. It's like, no, we talked a lot about color. That's all good.
I'm so confused. Oh my gosh, we're just wandering off. We're just wandering off into the wilderness. What are we even talking about? But. So I will continue to update with, I'll post like some panels. I just don't want to post full pages because then that's super spoilery. But again, the Grayscale books are shipping right away. And I have the mini prints. The mini prints came in. I posted that on Twitter. And the Demon Standees are also, dropping things. Demon Standees are also here. So all of, if you order the art book, the Grayscale book, or the Demon Standees, I'm going to ship those right away. Yeah. And color books coming next month.
I think it's not as big a thing in the U.S., but like for us in Latin America, it is. That and I think I talked to Irene about that some other time. But like, it's for some reason, kids really like having custom notebooks around here in Colombia.
Right.
And so like when the time comes to buy like
back to school
shit, kids actually want to go. And they will look for the coolest, most expensive notebook covers. So there's some very expensive looking notebooks with like a bunch of
it's like spiral bound stuff.
Yeah, just like a bunch of junk in there too. And so like honestly, my reaction when Irene was showing her mini posters, like, oh man, I didn't know that they were that small. Because of my tendencies of being Colombian, it makes me want to grab that and just paste it as a cover on a drawing notebook to just be a cover with my poster for Fiendish.
Oh yeah, I don't have the mini prints, but I have I'll post. I have a picture on Twitter, but they're the same size as the comics. So there are 3 of those, and you can see them on the. Let me just scroll down. Actually,
whenever we get to drag you to Colombia for a convention, you'll have to make some spiral bound notebooks.
Oh look, Eric.
I should.
He said that he just got his book today. And that he's looking forward to actually doing a review of it when the color version comes out. That'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be fun because you can actually like maybe pinpoint some of the differences that we have between them.
It's a competition. Tell me which one's better.
Oh no! I think it's cool to actually look at the different versions. Like even like when I was talking about the
our first big book with AC, The Remains. I'm still very proud of the first version, but I did edit on the second one, and I always wonder, like, did anybody notice like those particular changes that I made? Because those were, I doubt those were important to anybody else, but they were very important to me. That's like, those were mistakes, and I wanted to fix them.
Yeah, we fixed a couple of small things between the grayscale and the color version. So people who got both, you get to spot what we changed. It'll be a treasure hunt. Honestly, though, I think that book is better in color. I did want it to be in color, but I just thought I couldn't afford it at first. So, yeah, I mean, I support. I want it to be in color. I think it looks better. But it's what. You should still get the grayscale because it's a collector's item. It's a limited run. I'm not printing anymore.
I think the fact that you made that specific cover for the black and white, it also helps really sell it as its own thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I don't know if I'm even gonna do any more, or I might make grayscale versions for all of the chapters, like a very limited run thing with these pure black and white covers. So yeah. It's just because it's kind of tying into the manga influence, but the main version is the color one.
I think the black and white one looks very nice as like a mantelpiece.
I've heard people say that.
It looks kind of fancy. So even somebody that has a more muted fashion sense, because like we're kind of gaudy and childish in how we decorate our house. So like colorful stuff doesn't look bad on our place with our childish sense of style, but like for normal houses, you kind of want like more like brown, like woods and like whites and blacks and like a potted plant somewhere. That black and white one can be a little nice talking piece.
That's true. Yeah, I would never display the color. Well, I would, but it's my own book. But everything in my house is like black and white.
I would never display your grotesque colors in my black and white house.
I'm not talking about Nick's colors.
Then colors.
I colored this cover, okay? The color cover is moi.
Oh, moi. Right. That's why you wouldn't show it. Okay.
Yeah,
yes.
That looks better than the other. You did like 3 different versions.
I did a bunch of versions, yeah. So by the way, this is actually the final. So yeah. I'm like, I'm moving on.
Out of all of the different ones and some of the like decisions that you made on some of the other ones, this definitely came out the best. I'm glad.
Well, yeah, but she did 3 versions, and I didn't like any of them.
I did more than 3 versions, but I was struggling with like the other ones. I don't think they were like terrible, but I wanted it to like really be cool. I was like, I can't deliver this unless like this cover looks really cool. And I knew I liked the drawing. I knew I wanted to just be like Cosme with some tentacles and like really mysterious and weird. But I was like, the other ones were kind of standard fantasy. Sorry, what?
I'm sorry, I was saying you had the inks like done a long time ago, but you were really wrestling.
I did.
Yeah, I think it was like every other week Irene was coming to us and being like, hey guys, I've got a new iteration of this cover. I'm like, God damn this.
Yeah, but the tentacles, the black and white near the bottom, that actually makes it work more.
I did. I added, there's like a little hint of the grayscale cover like imprinted. I want to do some, light, subtle imprinting, if you notice, but
you had bright colors for those 3 versions, and I'm like, this is dark fantasy. Why are you trying to be bright?
No, this is still actually very saturated, but the thing is, I wanted to do something that was fantasy, but not standard. Like, I wanted to feel different than what you would at, like, Lord of the Rings. But anyhow, this is a color cover, is what you guys
Can you highlight maybe Humans comment?
Yeah, right. I was just laughing at that. Like, man, like I get these comments. They're getting entertaining. I've been liking some of these. It's like someone is looking through some of those like not joke books, but those like those like one-liner flirty comments to make.
Simpery can be forgiven if it's fun.
Definitely, yeah.
Well, she's pale but has black hair, black eyes, so she is black and white. Sort of.
I feel like you guys are saying this is simpery. It must just like go over my head. I just think this is like a nice comment.
It is.
It's only simping if you super chat.
It's like the people that go out of their way to like constantly draw attention to that. Because Irene, like nobody's shooting just like, oh man, Nick, you know what?
your head is just as round and perfect as an egg. I love eggs.
We
Like,
would
nobody's
love
not-
to see you in
no-
booty shorts.
Everybody in the chat, type that right now.
Nobody's making those comments. All these casual, nice comments just go over to Irene. Everybody's just so nice. It just so happens that she's the first one on camera.
Everybody in the chat, compliment
the nice comments
Nick's
never
head
get
shake
to us.
right now.
Maybe if we had like 3 more hours or something, we would have more trickle down to the second and third.
There you go. I feel like Nick just feels lonely. He just wanted some simpery to go towards him.
That's
Well,
right,
so-
chat. Come on.
Yeah, but you see, like that's you know how you can tell the difference between real simpri and like one done out of guilt. Like all of these people are making comments, no thought put to them, and and they're not even funny. So I was like,
You guys have to work harder for that. He's not even impressed. Nick has high standards. Okay.
yeah, see, no, it's not even high standards. Just like Irene is getting all of these like really good comments.
symmetrical.
People are really trying
It's
to get on
so
the good
beautiful.
side. They want to really pump out on the chats. Only when I mentioned my egghead that people start talking about it. And then he didn't come out with an original thought. They just copied off of what I said.
It's so
I'm
symmetrical.
sorry, chat. You're failing at simping for Nick now, but it's all right. There's always you can continue trying. You have one failure is not should not stop you.
You have a nice smile, Nick. There you go. You look so happy.
That's a pretty good one. Hard boiled from all that thinking. There. See,
Oh,
they're
okay.
also calling you smart.
No, there you go.
Hmm.
But it's still.
Well, that's so hard. guys.
Mark Sunga says, Nick, I nominate you for Charlie Brown live action.
It has to be the Spanish version.
Oh my God, I've never thought of Charlie Brown as being Latino.
I mean, clearly not. Like he's white as shit. But
Yeah.
Is he? Is it ever said what he's
Yeah,
just
no, you don't have to. You don't have. It doesn't have to be said. The kid's white.
okay?
There's like one black kid and one kid that you're like, I don't know. He might be another race, but he's just kind of described as the dirty kid. So, I'm gonna hope that he's just white and he just lives in a trash bin. I'm hoping that that's not a comment on the fact that he's slightly darker than everybody.
No, it's from
This is
Olden.
very, very sentient. Oh boy.
We should probably end the stream
Never
before
thought
it's
that.
taken down from racism.
My childhood is ruined. Anyways, yeah, this is a good one. I think this one, Dunringo, you win for tonight. You win the simping awards of the week. But everyone else, come on next week. Take another shot. You might be the proud winner of winning Nick's approval next time. Oh, Pigpen. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what we're here for. We gotta keep our colorists happy.
What are we talking about?
I don't know. We were talking about colors and then
We're talking
simping.
about how great Irene looks in color.
Oh.
Unlike her black and white days.
Yeah, it was a great transition. It was hard, but I managed. Yeah, I mean, I'm not even kidding. My house is like all black and white and brown.
Not everybody can make that transition over to radio onto the funnies, but Irene made it work.
Yeah, I don't actually even know what that means.
Oh, right, it's not the funnies, the moving pictures.
The moving pictures. Yeah.
We all thought that she was like leaning too hard on her screeching, but then once she actually came onto the moving pictures, like, hey, the people love you in color.
Yes.
Color.
Yes. Right now in Technicolor, join us for the Hellion ARTSHOW next week.
What was that coloring technique that Disney was so proud of? The Technicolor. That was the thing.
Yeah, as the old films, they would brag about like having color. It's funny as shit.
Well, apparently it's like a different technique because I remember that the early Warner Bros. Studios had like because Disney had a copyright on that technique of coloring, they had to do one that was limited to like 3 colors instead of like 5, and like call it a different name just so that they could have a colored animated show and still have an edge on it while not infringing on Disney's fucking copyright of every fucking thing that they do. So yeah, it was like a thing. That's why they would always say like in Technicolor, nah.
In Technicolor.
They had a freaking copyright on.
Everything's gonna be copyrighted for Disney, you know. Alice VRB said, Nick, your colors are second only to your razor sharp wit.
Well, really shows how you're not paying attention because most of those are soft cuts on Irene's book.
Oh! We didn't explain that. You tried.
I forgot to say hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Chris is here. Chris is. I will compliment him. He'll compliment Nick if he keeps Mr. Sparling alive. On that note, our next Pathfinder stream is this Sunday.
Yeah.
Come join us.
Come see Mr. Sparling's face and listen to Chris try and pin the blame on somebody else for leaving Mr. Sparling.
Come watch me get blamed for everything. Oh!
Okay.
Woo! All right, it's gonna be a fight. So, Sunday at 1 will be, yes, come watch and see if we kill Chris's character or not. Vinny actually had to drop out, sadly, unfortunately, but we might have someone joining. We're trying to find someone else to join, and if not, LG will be there, but we'll see if we have a new player with another character. So yeah, Sunday at 1, come watch us. Probably win, probably kill a giant spider, probably get TPK. I don't know.
Sunday.
Find out.
Wear fake beards.
Oh yeah.
That's
Okay, you don't have to do black.
That is the main selling point. Yeah.
Oh, I was just saying she doesn't have to do blackface this time.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. No guarantees. I might not have wiped all the Sharpie off the back of my desk.
No guarantees.
It'll be a reveal at the end of the episode.
Listen, we go to great lengths to play our characters, okay? We're very dedicated role players. All right, don't hate on the.
I mean, if you don't want to paint your face, we can also just buy you a candy bar.
What?
Oh boy!
You make it sound like that's a regular thing that happens when you buy me candy bars.
That's the joke.
Okay. I think we'll wrap this up so AC can throw things at Nick off stream. Again, check out Fiendish on Indiegogo right now, and thank you again to my esteemed colorist, Nick Zamudio, for joining, and for AC and also Chimera, my co-host at this point, I suppose, for joining me today. Where can everyone find you?
I think this is the best Chimera's stern Shinji has worked so far.
Yeah.
As I was just like, and thanks to Chimera, I guess he's my co-host.
You spoke too soon.
Oh, damn it.
It worked pretty well on that one.
I tried.
You can find me. You can search for me on Instagram as AC Zamudio. Also AC Zamudio on Twitter.
And I'm in most places on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook as Ink Imp or Ink Imp Nick. And people can contact me at inkimpcontact@gmail.com.
Ink in contact, actually. I'll actually just type that in the comments. So, and Chimera, where can people find you or not find you?
They can not find me on Twitter, Chimera the Huts, and have an Etsy store with leftover books from my last campaign.
Oh yeah, you keep on forgetting to shout that out.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. You just have the overprint on Etsy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good idea. Do you have that posted in the chat?
That's right there.
Oh, okay. There you go. All right. And you can find me at Beanie Draws everywhere as usual. And I keep on forgetting to mention that I have an Instagram, also a Patreon. I post behind the scenes stuff for Fiendish on there, and I do fan art every month. People can vote for fan art I draw, and I have to draw Chainsaw Man for the last vote. I haven't done that yet, but that's going to be the next thing that I do. So all those links are in the chat, and follow me, follow my channel if you haven't yet. Subscribe, hit the bell. I'm trying to get monetized. I have the subscribers. Thank you. We're past 1,000 subscribers, but I don't have the watch hours yet. And honestly, I'm still like quite far from the watch hours because I just do a stream once a week. I need to do some like shorter videos. But yeah, if you come back next week, help me get the watch hours, look at some old videos or something. Subscribing helps more than anything. So hopefully I can get monetized. It'll make the time I spent on this channel much more worth it if that can pay off that way. So yeah, thank you very much. And next week at Wednesday, 8 p.m. I do have a guest lined up. So come join us again for more comics talk. And don't forget, this Sunday at 1 p.m. EST, we're going to be doing our Pathfinder stream on my channel as well.
Mr. Sporling's fate will be decided.
Yes, come and watch the reveal of his fate. Mr. Sporling versus the giant spider.
Yeah, by the way, like I know this was like the big since Chimera brought up the topic of thickness for today's episode. A lot of people were actually like following it up and talking about how you've been doing setting up your Patreon and stuff. Like I've been actually surprised. Like if you guys end up wanting to, if Ragnar's sneak peeks have not been enough for you guys.
Okay.
I've actually been very happy to see my friend Gustavo Valencia. He's been like doing gangbusters on his Patreon, and like he only draws hot girls all the time.
There we go.
I went to check with him. I was like, because I wanted a piece from him. And I was like, shit, he's doing so good on Patreon that it's impossible to pay for his pieces. They're so expensive now because he's set with his Patreon. Check out Gustavo Valencia, guys. Like he has some good, thick art.
There you go.
Could rival Boob Dan?
Boob Dan.
I'd say a lot of his pieces do.
Wow. So the moral of this stream is thickness works.
Yeah, I think his like what is it, like signature move is not necessarily that engorged phalanges, but rather that everything is either oily or drizzled with water.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, thanks, Yvonne. That's is that Gustavo's pen name that he goes by online?
Oh, thanks, dude. It's just like I know him by name. I see his picture and it's like, oh, that's Gustavo.
Cool. Yeah. All right, yeah, check that out. And moral of the stream: embrace the thickness, embrace thick thighs, and you can embrace them if you back Fiendish as well. Good night, everybody. I love you all. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.